Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and we are live. Shout out to the entire nation for pulling up on our show today. Friendly reminder that next time we're going to be live, it's going to be on Thursday, which is February. So if anybody's trying to compete in our January bang race, it sounds like today is going to be the last day in order to do so. On top of that, Chugs and I are going to be live on Thursday. We're also going to be live on Friday this week, 4 p.m. Eastern time, as we are getting ready for our trip to Las Vegas next week, so just be on the lookout for all of that. I got a really fun show on tap for the entire nation out there. We're going to get into some of the latest OC rumors around the silver and black. Yesterday, I did a segment live here on the show around the idea of, all right, Hondo Carpenter reported that there is a former head coach that has been linked to the Raiders at some sort of OC capacity. Today, I'll call him an NFL talking head. Talked about one person that I did not mention in the video yesterday, but then as I sat down, I thought about some more candidates, had some people reach out to me, and I'm basically going to give you a few more potential secret OC candidates to wrap your mind around, but there is one person that I definitely think that you should think about. Then, I'm a believer that it's still going to be Kliff Kingsbury. Are the Raiders interested in Kliff Kubiak, even though they cannot interview him this week? Yes. To me, though, I still believe that it's going to end up being Kliff Kingsbury that's going to be the Raiders OC. So I said, you know what, let's get a little bit weird here. Let's do a mock draft with Kliff as the OC and try to navigate that entire situation. Then, a crazy trade that was thrown out by Bleacher Report, which I put on social media, had a lot of people feeling some type of way. So what I figured I would do is, okay, how about we talk about players that if the Bears go, I need a starting caliber player to be the cherry on top to get this deal done. I'm going to give you 5 names of some candidates that I would be willing to trade as long as it meant the Raiders getting the #1 overall pick. The top name that I saw yesterday in our secret OC candidate list video was this guy right here. Have you heard of him? Jon Gruden. Would you want Gruden to be the new offensive coordinator of the Raiders? I heard everything from, well, we're already paying him, so why not? Well, Mitch, he's an offensive-minded guy. Why not do it? He's good friends with Mark Davis, as we know. And I was blown away by the amount of people that recommended or thought that the secret OC candidate was former Raiders head coach Jon Gruden. So we're going to give some shout-outs here on the show. And as always, if you have a question, if you have a comment, if you have a statement, anything in that regard, what's up? I'll tell you what, bringing back the Chucky heads would be probably the only thing that I would like about this. The Chucky heads were fun. I mean, that's like OG Raiders Report days. But let's see what you guys have to say. Hugo, yes. John, no. Luis Ramirez, no. Juan Hernandez, no. Raider Games, nah fam, we good. The Queen says no. Hugo, right now seems like he's the only one saying yes. BTS says yes. Hell no from Kenneth Phelps. The reason why I love doing this show and the reason why I love asking y'all questions because I feel like I get a better view of where y'all are at. Obviously, you guys can see me. You can see my opinion. You listen to me, and I appreciate that. But I do this show because I do really want to know where the nation is standing on certain talking points, and then that way I can also have what I need to be able to talk about going forward. But I am going to get into today of whether or not I think Gruden is the secret OC candidate or whether or not there is any legitimacy to some of the names that got thrown out today, because some of the names that got thrown out today I definitely think are going to be a little bit eye-popping on this show. What else is eye-popping is the amount of money that you can win with our awesome sponsor, Prize Picks. And if anybody wants to get started with the big game, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Just make sure that you use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. I imagine a lot of the people that are watching the show right now, they don't want the Chiefs to win. They also don't want the 49ers to win either. But you know what? At least I can potentially win some money. And all you got to do is pick 2+ players. Choose more or less, and for me, what I ended up doing is I put down $20, and I have an opportunity right now to make $200. Some of y'all have the opportunity to make up to 25 times your money, but these are the picks that I'm rolling with for the big game. Patrick Mahomes, more than half of a passing yard. Yes, it's a special deal that Prize Picks is doing, and they do this kind of stuff, and you're smart, you got to take advantage of it. If he doesn't get that, though, I don't even know if I'll be mad. I was going to say, if you don't get, I'll be honest, I'm probably not going to be mad. Brock Purdy, give me the more on 11.5 rushing yards. Isaiah Pacheco, 7 straight games with a touchdown. Give me the more on that one. Kyle Juszczyk just needs to catch one football. He's got 5 catches in his last 2 games combined. All I'm saying is I'm feeling pretty good that I can turn my 20 into 200. But no matter what, the entire time I'm watching this game, and I'm not only just going to be looking forward to the commercials, I can also hope that Pacheco scores, that Juszczyk catches a football, that Mahomes throws for 1 passing yard. Like, all of these things could potentially happen, and if it does, I'm going to be adding some money in my pocket. Let's go to the real cowboy. Love some old school Gruden, but the Raiders already have a target from the NFL with Davis in charge. We don't need it to add it with Gruden. I mean, do I like old school Gruden? Yes, I do. I loved old school Gruden. New feature alert. Is that what you're telling me? Oh, wow. This is cool. So you guys can now like Super Chat. So if you like the Super Chat, I don't know if you guys see this. That's pretty cool. Oh, wait, we can too. So right now, the most liked Super Chat is this one from Real Cowboy. That's kind of cool. That's a new feature. I'm not going to lie. That's a really cool feature. I've never seen this before. Yeah, you can like the Super Chats now from Sienna. That's freaking sick. But my point is this. I did like old Gruden, and I liked Gruden back in 2002. I don't necessarily know if I like the idea of bringing Jon Gruden back now. Yeah, I think this. I'm already telling you right now, tune into our Thursday or Friday show. This whole like Super Chat idea, we're going to do a special giveaway for our Thursday or Friday show. Whoever sends in the super that people like the most, you're going to get something. I want to plan it out a little bit more, but I like this feature. Yeah, it sits there. It's cool, man. I can like it too. I'm not going to lie. This is what's kind of cool is sometimes it updates for us like right on the fly, YouTube, and sometimes we don't know if new updates happen. This is a new update, and right now 26 people, 30 people have liked Real Cowboys' latest Super Chat. I'll tell you this, if somebody bangs and then that one gets 100 likes, I don't drink on Tuesdays, I will do 1 beer bong. I want to see if it works. I mean, how many likes can we get on a Super Chat? I don't know. I think it's kind of a cool thing, right? I mean, we got 625 people here watching the show. All right, how about this? Let's go to this next one. What do you guys think? If Kliff Kingsbury is the Raiders OC, who should be the quarterback? This is a big-time question. Now, I put out a video earlier today on the channel, and it was around my dream scenario for OC and for quarterback. Like, it was my dream scenario where if Kliff Kingsbury is the OC, this is the guy that I want at QB. If Klint Kubiak is the OC, this is the guy that I want. Now, I will admit, I only use the people that are officially going to have an interview with the Raiders, and I say officially because technically, Klint Kubiak is not confirmed, but the Raiders are interested, and I'm telling you right now, if the San Francisco 49ers would have lost that game, then they would have interviewed Klint Kubiak this week. From what I understand, the Raiders are still interested, but it was also reported by Ian Rappaport that the Raiders are expected to hire an OC. Like, if it's up to me, as much as I think Klint's a hell of a candidate, what you really cannot afford to do is wait until after the game to then interview him, because you're giving up 2 weeks of prep time for free agency and the draft. Like, Raiders got to be able to take advantage of it. Let's go to the next one. Rolling in here, though, I am seeing a lot of Jaden Daniels for Kliff. I'm seeing some Mayor Daniels, no for Daniels. Cool Cobra says, is that a question? I think it is a question. Kliff and Penix Jr., Joe Milton from Tennessee. Oh, if you have a question, Cool Cobra, you got to use hashtag Raiders, or you can skip the line by sending in a super chat. The only way that we can actually put the questions up is if you use hashtag Raiders, like at the front of your question or super chat. Let's go to Ivan. Arthur Smith to the Steelers, Kubiak to LV then. I'm not going to lie. I think the Steelers going with Arthur Smith doesn't really surprise me, considering Arthur's going to want to run the football a ton. That's kind of what Pittsburgh likes to do. Kubiak to LV, it would not be what I think ends up happening. I know that he's the top name up there. I'm still going to put my chips in the center of the table for Kliff Kingsbury coming to the silver and black. Let's go to Christian Gonzalez. I was a big fan of yours. I would kind of wish the Raiders would have drafted you. If we get Kliff, And yeah, we need one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft. No more mediocre moves at QB. Go Raiders. I respect a lot of people in this industry, and I know y'all really like Hondo Carpenter, but Hondo recently put out an article that Hondo's a good dude, but I could not disagree with it more, where he's saying, the Raiders should not trade up into the top 3. The Raiders should go into next season with Aiden O'Connell. And, when I think about that idea, it just blows my mind that anybody could even have that bad of a take, that bad of an idea. I'm with you, Christian. I'm sick and tired of watching the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Here's the thing. Aiden O'Connell ain't beating Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. That I can promise you. Bo Nix, he ain't beating Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. That I can guarantee you. If you want a shot to actually take down Kansas City in a year where, let's face it, this is the worst offensive team that they've had in a long time. I don't care what it takes. And one of the reasons why my segments on today's show is around how the hell are we going to get to the number 1 pick and players that I'm willing to move on from. I want to get Jaden Daniels. I want to get Caleb Williams. I want to get Drake May. I'm sick and tired of mediocrity at the quarterback position, which the Raiders have had since 2016, 2015 Derek Carr, since 2002 Rich Gannon. It's been mediocrity. Let's go to Cool Cobra. I'm glad you figured it out. Hashtag Raidersport by Chat Sports. You know what? It'll work. Will you do a live stream on March 2nd, double header at Allegiant Stadium with the Australian NRL, National Rugby League? What's funny about this is you're actually not the first person to ask me this. So one of our old-time viewers, he's a rugby player from Australia. He watches the show a lot. He's the one where he said, I'll send in a $500 super chat if something happens. And he stuck to his guns. It was Jack Bishop. I follow Jack on IG, so he's an Australian rugby player. But you're actually not the first person to ask me. The problem with this is I don't know what my schedule looks like March 2nd. It's also right before NFL free agency, which for us is a big, we got to catch up and get everything ready standpoint.
I think you're bearing the lead here.
Yeah.
Also, we don't know anything about rugby.
Oh, that's fine. I'll tell you this right now. There's some Thursday Night Football shows that we do that, all we got to do is drink some beers, hang out with the nation, and when somebody, I think, scores, we're going to celebrate.
I think scores.
What's going to happen on this drive? Touchdown, field goal, turnover, punt. They're like, none of that can happen. I guess I'd have to learn rugby. Though, a few years ago, Tom and we did a UFC watch party. Now, that might be 4.5, 5 years ago. It was all right. At the time, I think it was a good show for at the time. We've done a Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson watch party before. But again, that's on Maine. If you guys want us to do it, I'll talk to the people that make the decisions around here. AOC didn't beat Mahomes in the regular season. The defense did. We need an upgrade, no question. Again, you're not going to – I agree. To me, Aiden O'Connell is a good quarterback. Aiden O'Connell is a good backup quarterback to have. But, that's what Aiden is, right? You cannot rest assured. You cannot put your coaching – I don't even know how to – you can't bet on Aiden O'Connell if you're Antonio Pierce. You cannot bet on Aiden O'Connell if you're Tom Telesco. Why am I going to have any faith in you as an organization if that's the guy that you're going to trot back out there? You want to have him as your backup? Cool. To me, though, if you're going to keep Aiden as your backup, you're probably going to bring in, and you don't want to trade for one of those top guys. I do think you potentially bring in a guy like Kirk Cousins, and then you let him learn. All right, y'all, we got 700 people here on the show. I do want to note, though, I do not want Kirk Cousins at $45 million. That I can guarantee you. We are going to be doing a 50-50 raffle here on today's show. It's going to be happening at the very, very end. So if you want a chance to get in, it's a $20 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365 for a chance to get in and win some money. So yesterday, we gave away $80, and Luis Rodriguez was the winner of that. So if you want a chance to get in, compete, we do a race at the end of all these shows on Tuesday, then you got a shot to get in. Sancho, are y'all still doing a Raiders Report 53-man roster this offseason? Y'all have been asking for it, and
my only problem with this,
I'm going to hurt feelings, and I don't want to hurt feelings.
We have more than 53 loyal viewers that watch all the time that absolutely love the show. So I would feel bad leaving somebody off.
I mean, there's 700 people watching this live stream right now. You know what I mean? Like, it would be tough for me to say, Sancho, you're not in, even though I know you watch the show all the time. And then, the amount of people that I've met, where I actually met one guy in Vegas, he showed me all of his likes on YouTube, and he liked, I'm not kidding you, every single one of our videos for the last 3 years, I'm going to say. Never seen his name on YouTube before. He's like, I don't comment, I just like. Like that's what he does. So to me, I don't know who that person is. I do now. However, those are the people that that's a very valuable watcher.
I feel like that could get very pretentious.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm using the right word there either. But
vocabulary is something that you're not going to get here on this show.
If we chose 53 Raiders Report viewers, number 54 is going to be pissed.
I hear you. I like the idea. I hear you. If you guys wanted to make your own and do it, sure, then we can bring it up as a topic. I just know this. We have 163,000 subscribers. To pick 53 out of that is almost nearly impossible. Do it from the jerseys? Oh, that's a whole nother can of worms. I don't know, man. I don't know. Oh, really? Interesting. It's gone. Oh, okay. So we're still figuring out this new feature of how many likes are on a super chat, which for those of you that don't know, the Real Cowboy got 46 likes on his. Ivan got 12. Christian Gonzalez got 19. And then the Real Cowboy again got 18. So right now, shout out to the Real Cowboy. Let's go to Nocturne Raider. How would you feel about drafting, Esteem out of Notre Dame player, since our GM is a fan of Notre Dame guys? I mean, here's the problem. I have not done my research on a lot of these players, and that's just me being very transparent with you. My legitimate, draft content for the next month is probably going to be very focused on the guys that I take in a mock draft. Like the players that I end up taking in my mock, absolutely I'm going to know everything about them. Do I know Telesco loves Notre Dame guys? Yes, and you're going to see a Notre Dame player get drafted here in my mock draft. But the one thing that I will never do on this show is lie to y'all. And over the next 2-3 weeks, it's going to be very quarterback heavy. It's going to be starting to get a little bit more into free agency. Once free agency wraps up, I would say I'll start to try to learn the top 100 players on our Chat Sports big board by April. And then from April 1st to the actual NFL draft is where I try to learn as much as I possibly can about all these other guys. I'm still concentrating on OCs. I'm still looking at a lot of stuff because what I don't want to do, and I've done it in years past, where you do a lot of research on a guy, right? Or you do a lot of research on certain players, and then a new GM comes in or a new regime comes in. You're like, well, that doesn't even fit, so I just wasted my time. So in all legitimacy, for actual draft content, that's going to be a little bit more down the line. Name a player you'd be willing to trade if it meant getting the number 1 pick. So hypothetically speaking, can you show them the trade of where this is coming from? So we talked to an NFL draft expert, I'm going to say 2 weeks ago at this point, and I said, hey, what do you think it's going to end up costing the Raiders if you had to guess from people that you talk to? This person is somebody that goes to the Combine. There's somebody who's going to be at the Senior Bowl, all that type of stuff, and very well connected in NFL draft circles. And he told me this year, based off of what he believes, this is what it would end up costing. The Raiders' first 3 picks this year, the Raiders' first 3 picks next year, and a starting caliber player. Well, I always get mad sometimes when I see trades that are shown on certain shows that are like, well, who's the starting caliber player? Because Max Crosby compared to, I don't know, anybody else, it's a very different thing. So my point is, who's the starting player? Who are you willing to put in this trade if it means getting the number 1 overall pick? I'm going to give you 5 players that I would be willing to do that for. So name somebody that you'd be willing to trade if it meant getting the number 1 pick, but I want you to base it off of also the trade that is already presented there. You're giving up 3 firsts. You're giving up 3 picks this year. You're giving up 3 picks next year. And then that starting caliber player. I see somebody saying Devontae Adams. I'm telling you right now, if it's Devontae Adams on top of what you're already giving up, that's a lot, man. I'm telling you, spoiler, Devontae Adams isn't on this show. You're not going to see Devontae Adams' name here. ILL says Hunter Renfrow. Colton Miller from Nocturne. Rebel Montana, I think he's saying that he's going to trade me. Andre James from JMO. What's up, Rebel? The Water Boy. Jacoby Myers from Matt Bluhey. Trask Key Tribe. Going to go with Hunter Renfro. I mean, there are a lot of Renfros. Joe says Malcolm Kuntz. Tough Bandit. Nate Hobbs.
Reminder, some of the names I'm seeing in there
don't have any value.
Well, they're also free. I see some Andre James in there.
Correct.
He's a free agent, so you can't trade him. I mean, you'd be able to maybe sign him
and
then
trade. You
trade.
have to re-sign him and then trade him.
But, I mean, that is a very unlikely thing to happen if you were to sign and trade a player without them knowing, they would feel
some type of way.
If you're like, oh, Andre, I want you to come back to the Raiders 2 years, and then you trade him for the number 1 pick.
Yeah, it's no bueno. Also, Robin Charles Morrison, I saw that you sent me 10. I need another 10. It's a $20
Daniel
duck
said,
race.
Get rid of Jermaine. Same thing. Jermaine Illuminor is a free agent.
And then, so Justin, I got Justin Gilbert in, and then Robin, if you send me that other 10, you will be in as well. Again, we're going to do that at the very end. Fluhy, I see it down in the chat, and I'm just going to tell you off the jump. You are 3 bangs behind Justin Abgen for the January MVP prize. If you don't know what it is, it's a special January Raiders Report jersey. There's only going to be one made. And today is technically the last day that we are scheduled to be live on this channel.
You could send in a super thanks tomorrow.
You could send in a super thanks
sneaky.
tomorrow. That is sneaky. That's some under-the-table stuff, which Fluhy seems like a guy that does some stuff under the table. So you never know with him. You never know with Fluhy. We do have, though, 900 people here in the chat. If you haven't already,
likes.
Click that like button. Somebody said trade Jimmy G. Definitely. The problem is nobody's going to trade for Jimmy G. So some of the names that you see on today's show are players that actually, as I say, have value. Like, no NFL team is going to trade for Brian Hoyer. No team's going to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo.
I mean, the easy answer is, trade all your bad players. But at the end of the day, if you think they're bad, what do you think other teams think of them? It's just like if the Bears came to you and were like, hey, we'll trade you our 4th-string defensive tackle. Isn't that good enough? Raiders fans would be like, we don't want him.
Yeah, I'm okay on that. You guys want Alex Leatherwood back?
No!
Right. I think I'm all right. I think I'm going to be okay. All right, y'all, who's ready? Somebody said Hooper. Hooper's a free agent, so that one's not going to work either. And I will say that I did talk to a Bears source. He's very well connected with the team. He gave me his biggest team needs. There's 8 of them, so that's also going to go into this conversation here a little bit for which players I'm deciding to move on from. So here's what's going to happen.
Ruben said trade Jeremy Chuggs. They have to sign me first. And if that's the case,
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay.
Honestly, for Jeremy's sake, I know it means losing him. I'm okay with it.
If they sign me to the vet min right now, I would do that if it meant I got traded to another team.
$1 million. Here you go. You get to go play somewhere else.
I would go play in Jacksonville.
Yeah. Name a spot. Though, imagine if you got signed and you had to get through an entire off season.
Yeah. I just wouldn't be good.
Dude, I'm telling you right now.
I would be in great shape.
I'm just saying, I've seen these athletes up close, and everybody has. You would be in a lot of pain every day.
Dude, I would be ripped.
Yeah, dude.
If I was signed to the vet min for the Raiders, and I was able to go through an offseason on their nutrition plan with their trainers and get whooped every day in practice by Max Crosby, which you wouldn't want that probably because he wouldn't be getting better. He would just...
No, Michael Mayer got whooped, and what if you turn into the next Mayer?
Yeah.
There you go. See? Glass half full.
Then I have some player pedigree. Then I become a coach because a lot of Raiders coaches now, former players.
Yep,
so I'm like, hey, I'm a former player.
I like this.
Now I can be the Raiders OC. I could be the secret OC.
And then it's such an insane story that Netflix makes a movie about it.
Kevin James starring as Jeremy Chuggs.
We've seen it before.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, this is a movie. Somebody write this down. Rebel, somebody write this down.
Opening scene of the movie. It's me doing a boot, right?
Yep, I like it.
Then flash forward, it's Antonio Pierce in his office.
Is it a flash forward?
Maybe.
I think it's fast forward, flashback.
Yeah.
Fast forward.
Fast forward. Antonio Pierce, played by
I'm listening.
who's the guy who's the main character in Blackish.
I have no idea.
I think it's Anthony Anderson. He shaves his head.
Okay.
He's playing Antonio Pierce. He calls me up. Hey, I know you're a producer for the Raiders Report.
Okay.
We need you. Then, Anthony Anderson.
All right.
Then I go in and Jake Gyllenhaal is playing Max Crosby. He dyed his hair, got all the tats.
Okay.
Me and him at practice. Then it goes through my journey throughout the NFL.
I love this.
And then from there on out.
And Robert Jansen, you can be Mark Davis. We'll allow it.
Yeah.
We'll allow it. I'll tell you what, if that ever happens, remember this conversation, because that would be.
This conversation sounds like it ends with.
Yep.
And then, bro, next thing you know.
Yeah, somebody's like, yo, y'all, I don't know what. They weren't gummy bears. Let's just say that. They weren't gummy bears. Only eat the leg next time.
Those weren't Haribo?
Oh, horrible. What up, Arlen? Raiders! What's up, my man? Dylan Erickson. I wouldn't hate Gruden at OC. He's worked with a lot of quarterbacks. Carr was actually looking pretty decent that last half of the year with Gru. Kliff, my number one still. Again, man, I'm out on Gruden. Like, I want a new, young, trend-setting, offensive-minded head coach. Gruden's offense is like stuck in 2002. Like, there's no way. When you look at Andy Reid's offense, that's fun and creative. You look at McDaniel, that's a fun and creative offense. Not Josh McDaniels, Mike McDaniel. You look at Sean McVay, fun, creative, innovative offenses. None of those are the Josh McDaniels offense and the Jon Gruden offense. I don't think are that far apart.
Who plays McDaniels in the Chugs feature-length film?
I don't know if I'd wish that on anybody. I'm trying to think of a Josh McDaniels lookalike. I don't know.
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill. Oh, man.
John Scheffler.
Or who's the... I feel like if you're going to go like this whole thing because it's Kevin James.
People are saying...
What about like Rob Schneider or David Spade?
Yes, Rob Schneider. Rob Schneider as Josh McDaniels. And people were saying they want Jamie Foxx as Antonio Pierce. I thought Anthony Anderson's more the build. Like, he's like more like...
He's jacked?
No, I wouldn't say jacked, but he's
Telesco?
Just... Telesco? Oh, I think that one's a little bit easier. It's Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. I'll tell you what, this is a very expensive movie. That's all I know. The budget's going to be sky high.
I don't know who plays Chandler Jones.
Yikes. Yeah, nobody.
Will Smith at the Oscars.
Well, it'd be Chris Rock then.
Yeah.
There we go. Scheffler, sorry guys, I just don't think we're going to be able to move up in the draft unless we give up a boatload because of all three teams needing a quarterback. You are going to have to give up a boatload. I mean, that's a fact.
And that's on me. People are saying Ice Cube as AP. I think that makes sense.
No, you're
right. People are saying Chris Pratt is you.
Honestly, I've been told that before. I'm okay with it. Chris Pratt's a funny guy. I'm in. I think we got ourselves a hell of a movie. Dave Chappelle as Chandler Jones. Oh, my God. L.I. Raider. I'm telling you right now, I'd go watch that movie.
David Spade as Brett.
I would go watch that movie. Oh. All right. So there's random people that are probably watching the show for the first time, and they're like, I don't know what is wrong with these two guys right now, but we're creating our own movie here, just so you know. Scott Eckert, you in? And Scott, I see you here. I'm just going to tell you ahead of time, man. I'm not going to do a boot today. If you do bang and you want me to do any kind of boot, it's going to be a coffee boot.
Well, you said if somebody bangs and it gets 100 likes,
I would do a beer bong.
That's a beer bong.
Okay, that's fair. If Scott does it, that's fair. I don't want to drink beer today. I'm just going to be real with y'all.
Who plays Mark Davis? Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito as Mark Davis.
I'll tell you what, this is a hell of a cast. That's all I know. If you like our movie idea, click that like button. If you want to join our 50-50 raffle, $20 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365.
In the office, we have Scarlett Johansson as Allie Barefoot and then Halle Berry as DK.
We got a whole movie set.
Mm-hmm. We couldn't afford Petey's character, so he got cut from the film.
No, that'll happen. Luckily, we do have Vakitis, who could also be in it and make an appearance. He's just got to learn English, though. He can't cross his legs the entire movie either. That would be a disaster. Oh, and we have chair pants. All right, coming up here on the show.
I was gonna say, literally,
Raiders OC rumors.
Just the AI character from Ratatouille, the food critic.
Okay.
That plays Jack Sparrow.
Just that character.
Yes.
All right, I got you.
We just have one cartoon in the whole movie.
Coming up here, guys, we're going to get into some actual Raiders content, I promise. OC rumors, which we're actually going to do that at the very end of today's show. So the next segment that's going to be coming up here is going to be my mock draft with Kliff Kingsbury as the OC. So, again, I'm trying to navigate this situation. Antonio Pierce, Tom Telesco, and putting together a draft based on if Kliff is the OC. Then the next segment is going to be trade candidates to get us up to number one. And as always, if you're going to get those questions, comments on the show, hashtag Raiders, or you can super chat.
I think Danny DeVito might have to be Coop.
Coop? I don't know. My favorite one is Dave Chappelle as Chandler Jones. I mean, I'm telling you right now, that's a skit in itself. If you told me 2 years from now Dave Chappelle does a skit where he's Chandler Jones, I'm watching it. More than once. Would you watch it? Why for yes and for no? I'm there. I mean, it's a no debate. I am 100% watching that. Would you watch it? Dave Chappelle as Chandler Jones. Why for yes and for no?
But it's Dave Chappelle playing his character from the Chappelle Show, which is the
Clayton?
Clayton Bigsby.
Dude, that skit is I'm not kidding you. That's probably one of the greatest skits of all time. That skit is unbelievable. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Clayton Bigsby, I guess. Christian Gonzalez. You in. Again, Robin Charles, you sent in 10. I need you to send in another 10 if you want in this duck race here.
HR, bring back Papa Bisaccia.
I don't think Papa Bisaccia is coming back unless McMahon ends up losing his job, and then the Raiders say, hey, Papa, you want to come back here and be special teams coach? But if I'm him, I'd rather just stick with Green Bay, if I'm being honest with you.
We're going to start with the mock draft, correct?
Mock draft to start. Yep. Mock draft to start this thing.
Rock out with your mock out.
I'm also excited to say if anybody wants to reserve some seats to our big game watch party, you're going to have an opportunity to do so because we finally got the links for you guys. I'm just saying, all you can eat, all you can drink. All you can eat, all you can drink. It's a really, really awesome deal. I think you guys are going to be really excited about it. I know I'm excited about it. We're going to try to pack the house. We're going to try to pack the house. So I'll tell you about all that info coming up here in just a second. Raiders Sancho, you are also in. So right now we got 4 people in, which means $20 Venmo to win $40. Robin, I'm still waiting.
Jeffrey's saying he thinks he meant Greg Papa.
Greg Papa. Oh. You're saying Greg Papa. That's the guy from Entourage? Well, maybe I'm totally wrong on that.
He's the play-by-play announcer for the 49ers. Oh. So I don't think he meant him.
Ruben Moya says Mitchell Renz looks like a kicker. I mean, you're not wrong. The fact that you even think I kind of look like an NFL player, or I guess you didn't even say player, you just said kicker. Put me in, Mitch. I'm winning the bowl. You got it.
If you're ready for this mock draft,
come on.
If Kliff Kingsbury is the OC, then go hit that like button. We're going to get started here in just one moment. Mitch, are you ready?
So Papa used to work for the Raiders. And that's why they're all saying that. I'm ready to get this thing going, Chugs. You ready to get this thing going? Julian Edelman as Mitch. Heard that one too. Coming up right now, mock draft time with Kliff as the OC. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. Coming up on today's show, I'm going to be doing a mock draft that I ran on PFF, and the way that I wanted to do this is think about how Kliff Kingsbury, Antonio Pierce, Tom Telesco would navigate the 2024 NFL Draft. So everything that I am doing right now is just based on the information that we know at this moment, and I am putting Kliff Kingsbury as the offensive coordinator of the Las Vegas Raiders. Before we get into our picks, the Las Vegas Raiders have 9 picks as it stands right now. You got the number 13th overall pick. Then you got round 2, a round 3, a round 4, round 5, round 6, and then 3 picks as it stands right now in the 7th round of the 2024 NFL Draft. So 9 picks in total. But here's the thing. If you're going to have a guy like Kliff Kingsbury, well, guess what? I'm going to get a little bit aggressive here. I'm going to pick up my phone, and I've said this multiple times. If you're the Las Vegas Raiders, you cannot wait until draft day to say, I'm going to try to trade for a quarterback. You got to do it right now, because if you wait till draft day, you might miss out on everything that happens in free agency, and you got to start planning right now. Like that's when you have to do it. Can't wait till the draft. So here's the trade that ended up going down. The Las Vegas Raiders got the number 1 overall pick. The Chicago Bears, they're going to get 13, 44, and 77 in this year's draft. Then in 2025, they're getting a first-round pick, a second-round pick, a third-round pick, and then they're also going to get Jacoby Myers, wide receiver, because it is one of the biggest needs for the Chicago Bears. So guess what? We are on the clock. We have the number 1 pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. I'm not trading all the way up here to not select a quarterback. Spoiler alert. So I'm going to let y'all decide. Do you want to roll with Drake May, type DM? Do you want to roll with Jaden Daniels, type JD? Or are you going to roll with Caleb Williams at a USC type CW? If there is somebody else that you would rather the Raiders draft, type O, but I'm looking right now down in the chat, and I'm seeing a lot of Caleb Williamses, and personally, I think it's between Caleb and Jaden Daniels for the Las Vegas Raiders if they traded up to the number 1 overall pick. And the reason why that I say that is because Kliff Kingsbury has that relationship with Caleb Williams. Antonio Pierce, Marvin Lewis, this coaching staff has this relationship with Jaden Daniels. You already know, I'm a big Drake May fan. If I had the number 1 overall pick, I probably would take May if Klint Kubiak was the Raiders OC. But based off of having Kliff Kingsbury at OC and also with Antonio Pierce, I'm saying it's either going to be Caleb Williams or it's going to be Jaden Daniels, is how I would believe that they would have their big board ranked. So let's make it happen here. With the number 1 pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select USC quarterback Caleb Williams. I mean, if you want to talk about upside, 68.6% completion percentage, 3,633 yards, 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions last season with the Trojans. On top of that, though, this is somebody that gets comped to Patrick Mahomes. And I'm not saying he's going to be Patrick Mahomes. You can't expect that anybody is going to be arguably the best quarterback that has ever stepped foot on the field. But you know what? This is a guy that actually gives us a chance to prevent Kansas City going to another Super Bowl, to prevent Kansas City from winning an AFC West title, to prevent Kansas City going to another AFC championship game. I'm done with mediocrity at QB. I am willing to go all in if it means finding somebody that has the upside that Caleb Williams has. Does he have some downside? Yeah, absolutely. To be honest with you, I think out of May, Jaden, and Williams, his floor is the lowest. If you were to ask me, who do I think is the most likely to bust out of those 3 QBs, I'll say Caleb Williams. However, which one has the highest upside to me? I will also say Caleb Williams. I mean, you can look at his numbers here from the past 2 seasons with the Trojans. He had a good little run there with the Oklahoma Sooners on top of that. But overall, if you have Kliff Kingsbury and you bring him in, and if you have the number 1 pick, I would say that he's going to roll with his guy, Caleb Williams. All right, so this is where we are currently at with our remaining picks in our 2024 draft. Caleb Williams goes off the board at number 1. Remember, we trade a pick 44 and 77 to Chicago, which now means we are in the 4th round at pick 112. And what I really tried to do here is address some of the needs, and I also really tried to, think about if I'm going to invest this much in my quarterback spot, you got to be able to protect them. And on the board here was somebody that I was very happy to have, Cedric Van Pran, center out of Georgia. And to me, I'm looking for somebody that's got a lot of playing experience and playing big-time football. When you think about a PFF grade at 77.9, all good. 6'4", 310 pounds, big boy at center. The Las Vegas Raiders, though, on top of that, they're going to be losing some of their key pieces on that O-line. Remember, Jermaine Illuminor, free agent. Greg Van Roten, free agent. Andre James, free agent. So for Van Pran here, he started at center for the Georgia Bulldogs the past 3 seasons. Like, you want to talk about, that's 2 national championships, and even though they didn't make the college football playoffs, I mean, let's face it, Georgia the past 3 years was a dominant football program. In the last 3 years, he allowed 1 sack, 1 hit allowed. His football IQ is what's a lot of coaches have really mentioned about him. Dude is a mauler in the run game, and he's going to be one mean mother effer. Like, really, truly is. Could he get better in his pass game protection, especially at the next level? Absolutely. But if you're the Las Vegas Raiders right now and you only know that you have Kolton Miller, Dylan Parham, well, okay now. I need to be able to address the offensive line to the best ability that I can. I don't know if Andre James is going to come back. If you told me based on money, would I rather bring back Jermaine Illuminor or Andre James? I will take Jermaine Illuminor over Andre because I do think it's going to be truly a need for this team. Sure, you could put Thayer Munford in there at right tackle. You could also have some flexibility with Dylan Parham at center. But the bottom line is this. I want to be able to protect Caleb Williams' blind side to the best of my ability. And with that being said, Kolton Miller, Dylan Parham, then Cedric Van Prawn there at center for Georgia. Let's go to round 5, pick 146 here in the 2024 NFL Draft. But guess what? We finally have the information y'all have been waiting for. If you want to pull up for our big game watch party, Jeremy Chuggs and I, we're going to be live at the Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel inside of Ahern Live Showroom. This thing is going to be unbelievable. I'm telling you right now, from what I understand, originally, I thought we were only going to be able to fit 85 to 100 people. I was actually told today we can actually get up to 200 people all encompassing in this room. It's also multi-level, so it's not just one level, it's 2 levels. Here's the address if you want to show up. The start time is at 2 p.m. Pacific time, February 11th. It's the day of the big game itself. If you're wondering, all right, well, Mitch, what does it look like on the outside? Here's what the hotel looks like from the outside. On the inside, this is what the bar area kind of looks like, and you can kind of see with the ring, the upper part of the showroom there. Again, it's hidden back there a little bit. But Chuggs and I will be on the stage. We're going to have a bunch of drink deals for all of y'all, and this is very important. It is free to enter, okay? I do want to say that. Free to enter. All you got to do is go to the link that you see down below. It's also in the comments and the description. Chatsports.com/biggame. BIGGAME. Chatsports.com/biggame is how you reserve a spot. I will say this, though. Space is limited. The only way that you can guarantee 100% reserve yourself a spot is you can get a happy hour pass, which is $99, or a VIP pass, which is $149. I will say, if you pay for the $99, you get unlimited craft and draft beers and unlimited happy hour bites. I've looked at the food menu. It's a whole buffet. It looks awesome. Or it's bar food. Or $149 for, again, unlimited craft, draft beers, and unlimited happy hour bites. I'll say this. If you want to actually chug some beers, hang out with Jeremy and I live on the show when we are watching the big game together, get the VIP pass. If you're like, Mitch, I have no interest whatsoever of coming on that stage, giggity, and chugging a beer with y'all, well, I'll be real with you. Just get the happy hour pass. Though VIP, you will have access to both levels. Happy hour pass, you will only have access to one level. If you're like, I'm not paying for it, it's okay. You can still show up. It is free to show up. It's just more of a, I can't guarantee you a seat. The way that I understand this is they know they have 200 seats. They're trying to get everything reserved. So it's free to come. But if you want unlimited food, unlimited drinks, you can either go $99 if you don't want to come up on stage. If you do plan on coming up on stage, I would recommend getting the $149 deal. I'll tell you this. If you think that that's not a good deal, go to Las Vegas in general for unlimited food, unlimited drinks, and then especially go there for the big game. This is an absolute steal. Go to chatsports.com/biggame to reserve your spots. I'm telling you right now, they are going to go very, very quickly. And this is the first time that I've even shown it here on the Raiders Report. All right, let's go to my next pick here, and this is just going to be one of my guys. I think I have done now 3 mock drafts, and all 3 times I have selected Cam Hart, cornerback out of Notre Dame. I know that Tom Telesco loves himself a good Notre Dame player. They are smart. They are intelligent football players. But Hart continues to be just a my guy. The film you watch on him, the dude is an athletic freak. And he made Bruce Feldman's freak list coming in at number 38. The tape to me shows that he can play man. He can play zone. Some people think that he might even be versatile enough to play both safety and to play corner. His technique does need to get better. But to me, he's worth the upside. Like, to me, I love the coaching staff that the Raiders have on the defensive side of the football, and they're going to be able to work with Cam Hart. Because when you're 6'2", when you're 200 pounds, when you can tackle the way that he does, when you move the way that Cam Hart does, I'm telling you right now, he is going to be a very intriguing prospect. He needs to land on the right team. Like, I could see Cam Hart's career legitimately going like Jack Jones, where if he lands on a team that's not going to use him correctly and it's not patient with him, he could fizzle out. Or you could get the Jack Jones that the Raiders had where you're like, all right, this guy's a freaking baller right now, and he's going out there and he's doing his thing. Cam Hart is one of my guys, and if I can get him in a mock draft, I'm going to do it every single time. Let's go to round 6 here, pick 208. I'm going to go with defensive interior here, Myles Murphy from North Carolina. And one of the things that I like to do this time of the year, when there's Senior Bowl notes that go out there, considering the fact that the Raiders have multiple coaches at the Senior Bowl, guess what? Teams start to get interested in certain guys, and I like to look at certain dudes because when they're performing, when they're performing at the Senior Bowl, that's one of those like extra bumps up somebody's list. I don't think that Myles Murphy's going to last to round 6. I'll be real with you, at 6'5", 310 pounds. But everything that I am hearing from the Senior Bowl is Murphy has looked really, really good on one-on-one drills. And at the defensive tackle position, I know you don't always get one-on-one spots, but when you do and you can take advantage of it, that is a really good trait to have. 24 tackles, 1 sack, 0 forced fumbles this past season with the Tar Heels. Let's go now to the round 7. And at this point of the draft, I look for depth, I look for leaders, I look for special teams. And I'm going to go with Josh Proctor, safety out of Ohio State. This guy's got a lot of playing experience, and when you can find somebody in round 7 that has played the amount of important football games that Proctor has with the Buckeyes, that, again, is something that I like to look at. At 6'2", 205 pounds this past season, 47 tackles, 1 INT, 8 pass breakups. But also on top of that, I don't know what the future holds for somebody like a Chris Smith. Like, Chris Smith was a player that Chugs liked. It's a player that I like too, smart guy, but you also got to consider that's part of the McDaniels and Dave Ziegler regime, right? Do you try to bring in your own safeties? You just hired a brand new safeties coach. Like, you have Marcus Epps. I would imagine you're going to try to bring back Isaiah Polameo. He's going to be an exclusive rights free agent. But then on top of that, you have Merrick, you have Epps. What happens if you do potentially don't see your defense working with Chris Smith? Could you bring in Proctor, who also, I believe, could play a little bit of special teams? He is kind of undersized to play like a strong safety role and what the Raiders would potentially want. But he's got the height, he's got the length. I think it's an interesting prospect to try to go out and potentially look at. Let's go to the next pick here in round 7. I'm going to go J.C. Davis, offensive tackle from New Mexico. And when I consider some of the big needs here for the Silver and Black, I'm looking at offense, I'm looking at defense. There's a lot of different opportunities that you can go with. And you can call me, you can say what you want. If I see a guy from Oakland, I'm kind of a sucker for it. I'm not going to lie. 6'5", 307 pounds. PFF grade this past year at 77.7, but the reason why I'm interested in Davis is because of he does have some good athletic traits, and anytime that you're an offensive lineman that's as big as what Davis is and you can move the way that he does, I'm like, all right, I can learn from that a little bit. You're not going to put him in a situation where right away he's got to go out there and do anything. It's more just of a depth move. Like, I would take J.C. Davis. It's kind of the way when the Raiders drafted Nesta Jade-Silvera. And I know Nesta Jade-Silvera did not work out this year, but that doesn't mean that he's never going to work out. Shit, think of it as like Darren Munford. Darren Munford was drafted in the 7th round. That's a better comp because he's an offensive tackle. My point is, I don't need him to be good now, but can he be good in 2 or 3 years? With the right offensive coaching, I think that it absolutely could happen. And then round 7 at pick 226, I'm going to go with the running back position. And just because he plays at a small school, I know that not a lot of people know too much about him, but Isaiah Davis, the running back from South Dakota State, I've watched this kid play live, and maybe it's because I like watching FCS football more than a bowl game anymore because they actually mean something. This kid's a hell of a runner, right? Like 6'1", 220 pounds. If you do this does not mean that, oh, Jacobs is gone. It just means like you have Zamir White. It adds a little bit more competition for Sincere McCormick. Brandon Bolden's not going to be coming back. Amir Abdul is a free agent, and for a hard-nosed runner, like, to me, this is the type of player that I'm willing to take a chance on. The kid is a good football player. He's played in a lot of big games, and to me, in the 7th round, what do you have to lose? Let's go with it. Isaiah Davis out of South Dakota State. Let's go Jackrabbits. So here we go, y'all, is my mock draft with Kliff Kingsbury at OC. In the 1st round, at pick number 1 overall, I traded up, and I selected Caleb Williams. Remember, I had to end up moving on from Jacoby Myers. I also traded pick 13, pick 44, pick 77, and then 3 picks in next year's draft. 1st round, 2nd round, 3rd round. In round 4 then, I went with Cedric Van Pran, center from Georgia. In the 5th round, Cam Hart, corner from Notre Dame. At defensive tackle in the 6th round, Miles Murphy, DT from North Carolina. Then in the 7th round, Josh Proctor from Ohio State. J.C. Davis, offensive tackle from New Mexico, and then Isaiah Davis, running back from South Dakota State University. I don't know if you guys can see it down below, but I want you to grade my mock draft, A, B, C, D, or F, and this is where, be honest with me, A, it's excellent, B, it's good, C, it's average, D, it's bad, F, it's a fail. Here's how, I'm just being real, it's an A. And the only reason why in my book it is an A is you have yourself a franchise quarterback. If the Raiders come out of their draft with a franchise QB, it's an A. If the Raiders do not come out of that draft with Jaden Daniels, Drake May, or Caleb Williams come actual draft day, I promise you this right now, I will not give that draft an A unless you address proper positions in free agency, which gives me a little bit more confidence come draft day. But unless you do Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, I don't know if I'm going to be giving any A's out on draft night.
I see a couple Fs. Looks like some people wanted Jaden Daniels.
And that's fine. Like, I understand Jaden Daniels, but again, people got to understand this is with Kliff Kingsbury. And based off of what I think ends up happening, if you bring in Kliff, one of the reasons, and then you trade up to number 1, to me, that is enough to potentially sway them to go Caleb. No.
Raider Dangerfield says, you got to hit on more than one player to get an A. Well, let me ask you this, Raider Dangerfield. If everybody else in the Chiefs draft, whenever they got Mahomes, was a bust, is that not an A draft?
It's an A plus.
If everybody, it doesn't matter. After you take Patrick Mahomes, everybody else in that Chiefs draft, they could all be in the UFL right now.
Yeah.
They could all be playing Canadian football. That draft class, A+.
If you drafted Patrick Mahomes, Cleveland Ferrell, Alex Leatherwood, Henry Ruggs, Damon Arnett, I don't know if I already said Leatherwood, I'll throw a Leatherwood in there, Tanner Muse, Brian Edwards, Jonathan Abram, that's an A+ draft. That's an A+ draft because you got Patrick Mahomes, right? Like, again, I guess if you don't like Caleb Williams, then yeah, that's not going to be a draft for you, though I did feel like I was able to get value in my first 3 picks. I found a starting caliber corner, a starting center, and your franchise QB.
The only way I think you can legitimately give this mock an F is if you're in the same boat as Matt Arnold and you think Caleb Williams is a massive bust, which we've seen it in the past. We've seen that happen
on the show.
Sam Darnold was a top 3 pick. So we've seen it before where guys who are highly touted. I mean, I know what Baker Mayfield went number 1 and
I guess, again, I'm just going to speak for myself. I never thought Baker Mayfield was worth the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
I never thought Sam Darnold was going to be good. I never thought Zach Wilson was going to be good. I thought Joe Burrow was going to be good. I thought Justin Herbert was going to be good. Tua, I've been kind of off on. I never thought Tua was going to be as good. He's been a lot better.
Where were you on Stroud?
Stroud, I had him ranked last year, tied with Bryce Young as the quarterback 1, though I did say it depends where his landing spot was. Like the year, and you guys, if I could find the podcast, I will. Back in the 2017 draft when Mahomes got taken by the Chiefs, he was my number 1 quarterback in that draft.
And don't get me wrong, if Williams is a bust, then that draft is an F because you gave up everything for a bust. But if not, it's a boomer bust pick.
Real cowboy. Where was I on Josh Allen? Total miss. Totally missed on Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Yep. And honestly, Josh Allen is one of those players where I think I had to learn from, where I watched tape on him, and it's like, this guy's got all the athletic ability in the world. Oh, but he has a completion percentage under 57 or 58%. If you get in the right system, you're okay.
I don't get that. He says it's going to be a while before you get a great QB. Parentheses, Jamarcus. I mean, you can't just throw out Jamarcus Russell for any first-round talent quarterback and be like, oh, yeah, Jamarcus Russell. That's like you telling me that you only know about Raiders history.
I think that's why there's a lot of Raider fans that are scared about the number 1 overall pick. I mean, here's the other part. Like, if Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, if they do what Jamarcus Russell did, they're not going to be successful. Here's the thing, though. I don't think that's going to happen in today's NFL. You're not going to have somebody.
Those are the same comments of the people that said C.J. Stroud's going to be a bust because he's from Ohio State.
Yep. I get it. Ryan Leaf, also a bust. I get it. I hear y'all loud and clear, but if you could tell me right now that you can find that next Josh Allen. You can find that next Patrick Mahomes. You can find the next, hell, Andrew Luck, just somebody that as soon as they step onto that field, you're in Super Bowl contention now.
Soul says we're scared of a bust. Well, let me ask you this. Do you want your players, do you want Raider players to go out there and play scared? Or do you want them to play balls to the wall, going for it, giving it everything they have? Because if you want them to play scared, then, don't take a quarterback in the first round. Keep on playing scared. But
the reason why I hate this argument from Raider fans, and I'm being real, is there any Raider fan alive right now that isn't scared of the first round in general? Honest question. I get it. First round pick, you give up a lot of draft capital. It's scary going up to 1. But how many Raider fans sitting in their chair right now in the first round, if you're picking at number 13, are you sitting there with a lot of confidence? I'm not. I don't know how any Raider fan alive could be confident in the round 1. So why not go up and try to get your quarterback? Because Tyree Wilson, I do think, is going to end up being a good player. But, Alex Leatherwood, Damon Arnett, Henry Ruggs, I think would have turned into a halfway decent player.
A wise man once
Jonathan
said,
Abram, Cleveland Furl,
a wise man once said, if you're going to be a scared puppy, you can piss on the porch and let the big dogs eat.
I'm ready to eat, man. I'm ready for some Raiders wins.
John Rodriguez, really, guys? Greg, see, obviously I don't know my Raiders history as much as y'all, but at the same time, we were talking about coaches, and then I saw Papa. So my first thought was
Papa
Bisaccia.
Yeah, I will admit, I was like, I have heard this name before, but we've been very transparent. I'm a new Raider fan, right? I'm a new Raider fan from 2019, and you also got to think, we're in such a different realm. I didn't listen to a lot of Raiders games, right? We watch games on television. I do think it's a little bit different. So I hear you. You can get mad at us all you want, but that's just the truth from it. Let's go to Real Cowboy. Being able to practice every day against someone who is compared to Mahomes will only make our defense that much better. Why not? If you can get Kliff Kingsbury and Caleb Williams, somebody who is, guess what, already worked with Patrick Mahomes. I get it. Kliff has been I'll say that he has failed upward for a lot of jobs, but I do think Kliff is that type of guy where he's not a head coach material. He is OC material. He's come up with fun, creative, offensive schemes. I don't think anybody can debate that. What up, John? Mitch, I'll give up whatever picks and players except Max to get either picks 1 or 2. I said the exact same thing, and I'm with you. I'm not going to give up 3 picks this year, 3 picks next year, and Davante Adams. That's too much for me. But if the Chicago Bears came up to me and said, hey, man, your first-round pick this year, your second-round pick this year, your first-round pick next year, and Davante Adams, hold your ears. I do think that the Raiders would pull the trigger on that ASAP Rocky because you're able to still save some of that draft capital. And on top of that, yes, Davante is an undoubtedly unbelievable receiver. He's also 31 years old. We've had him on a very cheap contract,
and if we've seen
it's about to get big.
If we've seen anything from the past 2 years is it doesn't matter who the receiver is if you don't have anybody to throw him the ball.
Correct. It doesn't matter who your running back is. It doesn't matter who your receivers are.
Davante Adams is a top 5 wide receiver, but with Aiden O'Connell, he's getting what?
He's not a top 5 receiver.
4 catches for 50 yards? On some games.
It's not a lot. Hey, dude, it's not a lot. I hear you. Real Cowboy, Telesco's draft history should give us hope. Just don't let him do the contract. Well, luckily, he's not going to do the contract. Delaney is going to be the one doing the contract. And I agree that we should trust Telesco. However, though, I would be very upset if Telesco goes, hey, man, we're going to take Bo Nix at 13. That's no bueno to me. Because if you're going to take Bo Nix at 13, in my mindset, Bo Nix and Aiden O'Connell cannot step foot on the Raiders field this year. They're not ready. Aiden, no way. Bo Nix, no way. They're not ready. You'd have to go, honestly, and sign Kirk Cousins for me to understand why Bo Nix at 13.
Demokes, I legitimately thank you for your super chat before I say what I'm about to say.
Yep.
This is the worst idea I've ever heard.
Yeah, you can't do this.
Worst possible outcome for the Raiders is that AOC is your starting quarterback next year. That is worst case scenario because legitimately, if he's your starting quarterback next year, you have the worst starting quarterback in the entire NFL. I can't think of any other quarterback that would be starting in the NFL that would be worse than AOC.
I mean, he's definitely bottom. I mean, you're hoping that he can crack the top 30, right?
I mean, he'd be in the likes of back in like Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, I mean if Aiden O'Connell's your starting quarterback next season, you're hoping to win 7-8 games. Like you're hoping to win 7-8 games.
He's the worst starting quarterback in the NFL next year if he's your starter. And people saying, "Oh, he can develop. Oh, he can develop." I mean, yes, but guys who can develop show promise in their first year to be like, "Oh, there's a spark. There's that guy." The only spark that I saw with AOC was the absolute thrashing that the Raiders had against the Chargers. Besides that, even if you go to the Chiefs win, he sucked against the Chiefs. The only reason you won is because you scored 2 defensive touchdowns.
Yeah, I also see, I agree with Pig's Pig here. Worst case is starting Jimmy Garoppolo over Aiden O'Connell week 1. That would definitely be work, man.
I mean, Robert, name a worse starting quarterback, somebody that's going to be worse than AOC next year.
He's saying starting. Like, I think that's the difference where there's a lot of, you also got to remember, guys, 66 different quarterbacks started the game this year, right?
Oh, yeah.
Only nine QBs played every single game.
AOC won't be the worst quarterback in the NFL.
Correct.
He would be 32, though. He would be the number 32 quarterback in the NFL.
I don't disagree with you. If you looked at every single starting quarterback in the NFL going into next season, right? Like
Agent Red said it best. He's a good backup.
He's a really good backup. He's going to be in the NFL for a long time. Aiden O'Connell is going to be a Brian Hoyer. Somebody who's going to stick around because he's a smart guy. He's a hard worker. He's going to be able to pick up different systems. And if he's able to play in the NFL for 15 years and get some spot starts like he did this past season, that's a hell of a life. That's a hell of a career. I don't think that anybody can legitimately think that Aiden O'Connell's a starting quarterback in the NFL. And if you do, I don't know how then you can say commitment to excellence and just win.
And Herman saying, Chugs, what about Mac Jones of the Patriots? He went to hell. Exactly. He showed he showed more promise than AOC, and look where he is now.
I mean, Mac Jones at least went to a Pro Bowl. I mean, he was a Pro Bowler with Josh McDaniels in his rookie season. I mean, to me, like, if you want to talk about Mac Jones versus Aiden O'Connell, if we're just talking about in that first year, because that's the only sample size that I have, Mac Jones was a better quarterback than Aiden O'Connell. Would you want Mac Jones to be the Raiders' starting quarterback? No.
No!
Ivan, why are the Raiders taking too long for an OC hire?
I think it's
because of Clint.
Yeah, I think it's because they want to interview Kliff Kingsbury.
It's because of Kliff Kingsbury. I mean, we've said it before on here. They want to interview him. The problem is, I legitimately don't think it's smart for the Raiders to wait 2 weeks to interview Kliff Kingsbury in a situation like, if you're the Raiders, guess what could happen? Exactly what just happened to the Commanders. You think that you're going to get your guy in Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson goes, nope, I'm going to stay with the Detroit Lions. If you're the Raiders and you wait 2 weeks to hire Kliff Kingsbury and he says nope, guess what? You just lost your competitive advantage. This is 2 weeks of very, very important time that you need to be able to sit down and start planning for your future.
For free agency in the draft. I'm going to go ahead and read this next one if you want to go ahead and switch your jersey really quick.
Awesome.
All right. Victoria, Penix, McCarthy, Nix might be a bust. I think with those, you're playing Russian roulette with Penix, McCarthy, and Nix. I think one of them could end up being a legitimate starting quarterback in the league, but you're playing Russian roulette with those 3 guys because it's a very much unknown at the quarterback spot. But be realistic. The top 3 guys, I'm 95% positive as long as I'm not 95% positive on any of the guys because it's the NFL. We've seen guys much more talented do worse, and we've seen guys much less talented go into the NFL and do better. I mean, Brock Purdy was the last pick in the NFL draft.
And now he's in a great system, and he's been able to execute. Like, here's the other thing, though. Brock Purdy is 10 times the athlete that Aiden O'Connell is, right? Like, he can actually use his legs. There is 0% chance that Aiden O'Connell is ever going to rush for 50 yards in a game, especially in a game of that magnitude. Like, I will say, out of all these quarterbacks, who do I think is the one that can start right away? It's Penix. If you're Bo Nix, though, like, I think you got to almost go like the Green Bay Packer route with what they did with Jordan Love. Like, Bo's not going to be ready in year 1. I don't think he's going to be ready in year 2 either. If you wanted to go with the Bo Nix route, and I've said this before, I think legitimately you got to sign Kirk Cousins for a 2-year deal, and then you let Bo Nix learn behind Kirk Cousins for 2 years, and then you go in 3rd year. Yeah. But then he's 27 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like, then he's 26 years old. It's not what I would do, but if that's what you want.
If you're going to go that route, I'd rather get J.J. McCarthy, let him sit 2 years behind Kirk Cousins, and try to develop him.
See, I'd rather have Bo Nix than J.J. McCarthy. I'm so out on J.J. We were talking about it earlier today, and I'm just going to give the baseball analogy. I do think that Bo Nix has a better fastball than J.J. I do think that Bo Nix can throw the changeup, can throw the curve. What do I mean by that? A deep ball with a little bit of touch. To me, the only pitch J.J. McCarthy has is a 93-mile-an-hour fastball, and it's straight. Like, imagine watching an MLB pitcher throw a 93-mile-an-hour. Like, he doesn't put good touch on the ball. It is one consistent speed.
I disagree. I think J.J. McCarthy could develop to be better than Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix is more of a one-trick pony than J.J. McCarthy. He throws all underneath routes and screens. I mean, how many deep balls from Bo Nix have you seen this year legitimately that traveled more than 30 yards in the air? You really haven't. It's a lot of screens. It's a lot of underneath routes.
I bet you he had more than McCarthy.
I mean, I could probably look it up.
You probably could. See, I do think that Nix did exactly what his offense asked him to do, which was throwing underneath. I will admit, the more tape that I've watched on Bo, the more I've started to like him. I do not think it's smart for the Raiders to draft him in round 1. I will continually say that. Like, to me, he's a quarterback that the Raiders should draft, not in round 1. We can look it up. I know. Right. Who do you guys think's the better quarterback? How about this, Bo or JJ? Let me know. Eric M., if we can't trade up into the top 3, sign Baker. Baker's going to go back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I've said it. I know I've said this a few times here on this one, but if you're going to sign a quarterback in free agency, I'd say it's either you're going to give Kirk Cousins about $40 million a year because reportedly he's asking for $45. Other option is you sign Russell Wilson and that you hope that he signs for the vet min. I know he's a cornball, and Raider Cody's my guy, but wanting Aiden O'Connell over Russell Wilson is just not an intelligent thing to say. So, like, I would rather have Russell Wilson at $1.21 million than Bo Nix. Like, that, I'm being real with you. Like, the other option is you trade for Justin Fields. You give up a second, maybe a third. I've seen an idea from Sanjeet being thrown out there. It's a second-round conditional pick, and it's based on how many games he plays. Like, I'm okay with that as well. But if you can't trade up into the top 3, I'm not signing Baker because Baker's going to get a deal like $25 million a year, and he's going to go back to Tampa Bay. I'm pretty sure he's going to Tampa Bay. Yeah, see, Eric M. says Baker over Fields. I'm going to disagree on that take. I'll take Justin Fields over Baker Mayfield, which I think it depends what type of offense that you're going to run. Maybe if you're running an offense with Kliff Kingsbury and you are going just flat out spread, maybe then. But to be honest, I'll take the upside in Justin Fields because I don't see Baker Mayfield ever competing on a team. No, I'll still take Justin Fields, and I might be out on that one. Yep. Let's go to Robert. Thoughts on Spencer Rattler being sneaky good? He's got upside. My problem with Spencer Rattler is, do you like Caleb Williams? Because I feel like a lot of times people are like, oh, Caleb is a diva. He's this and he's that. Spencer Rattler is like the biggest wild card that there is. If you've ever been afraid of having a player play in Las Vegas because of insert reason, Spencer Rattler, he's got a hell of an arm. There were some people that thought he could go in the top 5 of the NFL draft just 2 years ago. I mean, when he was at Oklahoma, people thought he could go legit top 5 in the NFL draft just 2 years ago. But he's a head case, man. I think he's a bad locker room guy, but there's no doubt some talent.
All right, I have our Chat Sports Analytics team looking at who has a better ADOT, which is average depth of target, which means average.
Oh, I think J.J. McCarthy is going to have better ADOT. That wasn't the discussion, though. It was deeper passes, more deeper passes.
That's what ADOT does. It's average depth of target. That means
you're just taking the average.
I know. That would mean he would have more deep balls because his average depth would be deeper.
No, not necessarily. If you throw 10 balls under 5 yards, but you throw 5 balls over 20, compared to if somebody were to throw, I don't know, a bunch of just 10-yard passes and none over 20.
I mean, that's not very likely.
But that, to me, that's what Bo Nix's offense was. It was 20 passes of 5 yards or less, and once in a while the shot down the field. Like I'm saying,
so I mean, that means he doesn't have a good deep ball. Like that means he doesn't throw the ball deep.
I think Bo Nix has a better deep ball.
If he throws 20 passes of 5 yards or less.
All I'm saying is what you just asked them to do has nothing to do with our conversation.
I think it does.
How? It was simply who has more completions over 30 yards. That was it. That's not ADOT. It's completions over 30 yards.
But are you talking about completions where it was a 5-yard pass and
I'm
then
just
he runs
talking
it for 30
about
yards?
Over 30 yards, which is all that our discussion was.
I know, but
McCarthy's,
that would be the average depth of the throw. Because if you're just looking at 5-yard passes that he runs 30 yards.
All I'm saying is it was just passes over 30 yards. I'm already over it. Robert, appreciate the super.
You got to take the L on this one, Mitch.
Well, you're not. This might surprise you, and I'm usually on your side. But this one you're twisting.
Under 7 yards. McCarthy over 9.
It's not what the conversation was
take the
about.
L.
It's not what the conversation was about.
You're wrong. McCarthy throws the deep ball more frequently and better than Nix.
I don't think he throws a better deep ball than Nix. I really don't.
You haven't watched a Nix deep ball because if you watched Oregon play whenever we did in Vegas, how many deep balls did he throw against Utah that looked good? You sat next to me saying,
"Oh, dude,
those passes look like crap."
They did.
If he can't throw a 15-yard out route, you're saying that he throws a better deep ball than McCarthy?
I'm just that far out on McCarthy.
Oh.
I really am, dude. I don't think he's good. Let's go to Herman J. Mortimer, Renz and Chugs. If you have the first 5 picks in the draft, who would you take and why? So are you saying like the first 5 picks in the 2024 NFL draft? I mean, it's going to be some combination of Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels. Those are your top 3. Marvin Harrison Jr. is 4. And then if it's based off of like my big board, I would probably put Joe Alt at 5 because I think he's a top 5 talent.
Yeah. Joe Alt, I mean, if I have the very top 5 picks for the Raiders, going probably either Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels.
Yep.
Joe Alt, Dallas Turner. Oh.
Dallas Turner. That's an interesting one.
Yeah,
I like him a lot.
I think he'd be really good. I mean, for the Raiders, probably going Devondre Sweat. I really like him out of Texas. But if
top
you're just
5?
But no, I'm just saying, like, if you're the Raiders and your top 5 needs, like, top 5 in the draft.
I mean, if I'm putting together a big board and it's top 5.
And Marvin Harrison Jr.
I mean, if it's top 5, it's the top 3 quarterbacks, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Joe Alt. To me,
You're picking all those same players?
If it's the top 5?
Like, he's saying if the Raiders had the top 5 picks. Like, if the Raiders had 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, you would take 3 quarterbacks?
No, it's not how I read this, I guess.
Maybe I'm reading it wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. Herman, I think we answered it. I'm not sure if
you have
we
the first 5 picks in the draft.
I guess then if I'm –
if you're
that's
the Raiders,
insane.
Yeah.
I'll take one of the top quarterbacks, whoever the coaching staff likes the most. I will take Marvin Harrison Jr. I will take Joe Alt. I'm not even going to lie to you. I might even then take Olu and kick him over to right tackle, go left tackle, right tackle, trade Colton Miller. Sorry, Colton, but I'd probably do that. And then
no. Okay, yeah. They're saying we're doing it right now.
And then oh boy, I already got a receiver. Maybe Jerzon or Dallas Turner is a player that the more tape I watch in him. Or Nate Wiggins out of Clemson. I do like me some Nate Wiggins out of Clemson.
I just like Devondre Sweat because he's massive.
All right, I read it wrong. All good. Adone, what up, man? Mitch, Purdy would be looking like AOC under McDaniels' game plan. I think we need to see what AOC's got under another game plan or OC. The problem is, though...
And see, I don't like the narrative that Purdy's only good because he's in San Francisco.
I think Brock Purdy, from what he showed, is a legit top 10, top 12 quarterback. Here's the thing. Aiden O'Connell will never be Brock Purdy. Like, Aiden O'Connell doesn't have nearly the athletic ability that Brock Purdy does. Like, you could say anything you want, and here's the other thing. Purdy's ability to throw receivers open is light years better than what Aiden is. Again, I get it. It's timing.
And if we're talking about, like, right situation, Aiden O'Connell had a good offensive weaponry. He had Devontae Adams.
Yeah,
he had Josh Jacobs when he was healthy. Jacoby Myers, not bad. Like, Trevor Lawrence in his first year looked a lot better than AOC, and he had Christian Kirk.
Yeah, I would say this is the type of mindset that people fell in love with Derek Carr, where it was very obvious that DC was not an elite quarterback, that DC was never going to take the Raiders anywhere, that he's going to be Mr. Mediocre, because it's hard to be an elite quarterback in the NFL. But when you find one, you find one, right? Like, it's a difference maker. And until you find that difference maker at QB, I I do not understand how anybody that says just win, baby, or commitment to excellence could possibly want AOC at quarterback. It makes no sense to me. Robert, Penix looks Stroud-like at the Senior Bowl. I will say that we will talk about Michael Penix Jr. today on the show, and a lot of good stuff coming out about Penix. I'm not going to lie. He looked really freaking good, everything that I've heard, everything that I've seen. However,
apparently he's bringing that big Penix energy.
That's what I've heard, man. Here's the other thing, though. When you're not pressured the way that I think you're going to get pressured in the NFL, like that final game against Michigan is what teams are going to look at, because he was rattled in that game. He was missing throws that he usually makes. It was not good. It was not good. DeMokes, AOC was the better quarterback in the first game against Kansas City. Here's the thing. Aiden O'Connell is never better than Patrick Mahomes.
That's just not true.
He's not better. He's never been better than Patrick Mahomes. He's never going to be better than Patrick. I mean, the fact that you're even making this debate, are you related to Aiden O'Connell? It's an honest question. If you are, I get it that you're sticking up for him. But there's no way that you can possibly look me in the eyes and say that Aiden O'Connell was better than Patrick Mahomes. Even in the worst game that Patrick Mahomes has ever played in, which is the game that the Raiders beat Kansas City, you're telling me when the game matters and it's on the line, you're going to pick Aiden O'Connell over Patrick Mahomes? No, you're not. And if you are, I don't know what to tell you.
In the win against Kansas City, Aiden O'Connell, 9 of 21 for 62 yards. 9 of 21 for 62 yards. And this is your sweet prince.
I got him. I think.
If you take out the Chargers game, he went 8 touchdowns to 7 interceptions.
Yeah. Somebody saying, so how was Aiden bad other than the KC game? 3-0 against the Vikings? Does that ring a bell? It is a real discussion. I don't know what's happening.
Against Miami, he went 24 of 41. So
he was horrendous against the Dolphins.
58% completion percentage.
And I feel bad because Aiden got thrown into a shitty situation. The point is, though, guys, why go back to Aiden O'Connell? Why go back to Aiden O'Connell? You don't have to. You can move on. I don't get it. I will never get it.
I mean, people who are saying they want Aiden O'Connell, you sound like somebody in a bad relationship who's like, no, but he's super sweet. And
people are saying the only reason why Aiden was bad is because he didn't have an OC. Again, y'all, did he have an OC? No, he did not. But if you're okay rolling with Aiden O'Connell in next year, I feel, I don't know. I'm done. I'm done with the whole Aiden conversation. It's a dumb conversation. Anybody that thinks that Aiden O'Connell deserves another year, I'm sorry. I'm just not going to be able to take you seriously. Would you take Winston over AOC? Just keep him away from the seafood section.
I would.
I wouldn't. I'll say I wouldn't, because Jameis Winston's going to cost significantly more than Aiden O'Connell. But why pick between the two? Why pick between the two? There's so many other options that are better than Aiden O'Connell. There's so many other options that are better than Jameis Winston.
Playmaker 2K had the best quote that I've seen from AOC. I can fix him.
Again, anybody, and I think anybody that is saying give Aiden O'Connell a chance is the same people that were okay with just not winning any playoff games with Derek Carr because they like the guy.
We said it millions of times on Sunday. I don't get how you can watch those championship games with Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Purdy, Jared Goff, and say, you know what? AOC is going to be able to bring us there. If you can look at me legitimately and say AOC can win a Super Bowl, then
Ivan's saying, look at the way he puts the ball. Here's the thing. I don't think that he's good at reading a field, and I don't think he's got a below-average arm, and I don't think that he sees the field well.
He's the most immobile quarterback.
I am amazed by what I am seeing today. Daniel, Mitch, would you sign any of these free agent linebackers or go with rookies? Luvu, Jay Brooks. There's a lot. Wow.
Levante David, Devin White, Willie Gay, Azeez Al-Shire, Drew Tranquill.
You guys know I love me some Drew Tranquill.
Didn't put Queen on the tag. Also, besides that, there's other guys too. Blake Cashman for the Texans is a free agent. He was the best linebacker for the Texans this year.
I mean, out of all these options, the guy that I would legitimately probably pick, based on money and fit in our defense, would be Drew Tranquill. Like, here's the thing. I look at Levante David is not very good. Devin White's a good pass rusher, but then again, he is horrendous in coverage. Like, if I'm Las Vegas, I'm not going to spend at the linebacker position. You got Robert Spillane. You could potentially see what you have another year in Divine Diablo. And linebacker for Patrick Graham's system is it's the least important position out of all of them. Like, I'd rather you spend big on defensive tackle. I'd rather you spend big on edge. I'd rather you spend big at cornerback. Like, Drew Tranquill, Divine Diablo, Robert Spillane, run that linebacker room. That can be a good one.
Yeah, I will promise you, if Aiden O'Connell makes a Pro Bowl, I will run a half marathon.
Done.
Me and Mitch will run a half marathon together if Aiden O'Connell ever becomes a Pro Bowl quarterback.
And I'm not talking about a Pro Bowl sub because, what was it, 2 years ago?
I mean, I might do it even if he is.
I mean, 2 years ago, Derek Carr at 24 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, made a Pro Bowl. I mean, it was because nobody could go, is my point. Like, the Pro Bowl is just getting worse and worse and worse, where it's like, this guy can't go, this guy can't go, this guy can't go. Here's our 12th option in a 32-team league. You're going. You know, like, Tryvan, ready to go all in. Let's go get a star quarterback. Tryvan, I'm glad somebody's being reasonable around here. I appreciate it. I just want to see what he got under a different game plan. Remember what you said, if you're not Tom Brady, it's hard to execute Josh's game plan. I mean, but here's the other thing, though. Like,
it's like it's not like he showed, there's a spark, even though it's not a perfect game plan. It's not like even a good player in a bad system shows you like, that dude still got it. He's just a couple pieces away, or he's got a couple tinkers away. It's not like at any point in the season I was like, AOC, I mean, that dude is the guy.
Bo Hardegree was not a good OC, but also the Josh McDaniels offense was essentially thrown out. Like, it was well documented and reported that they used about 10 to 15 plays still from the McDaniels offense, and they mainly used them like in a oh shit situation because we needed a play that we knew everybody could go to. Again, let's move on. Brandon, guess what, nation? It's finally time for a shout-out for Locals. I'll be live tomorrow at RaidersReport.locals.com if anybody wants to interact with us over there. More live shows, and Bull Cut needs to hire an OC. Well, they're waiting here a little bit. It'll happen sooner rather than later, I'm thinking. All right, my guy, we wasted players on the field on chip blocking because our line was horrible. The O-line wasn't horrible. It was top 12 by every single metric. When we use more players down the field to have more options, so instead of getting O-line, we get a quarterback and give picks. DeMokes, I mean, my problem is you must be watching a different Raiders team. Fonzie, benching Jimmy G for AOC was the right move, but he is not the answer. We needed the quarterback, or else we will never take that next step. I agree with you. And I mean, I was pounding on the table that, you can't play Jimmy Garoppolo, and you can't play him because of his injury clauses, and I don't want him back on this team next season. And knowing of what we saw from Jimmy G, it was the right chance to give Aiden O'Connell an opportunity, because I'll be the first one. If Aiden would have showed me promise, I absolutely would be standing up here right now and go, let's roll with him again. Problem is, he didn't show you any promise. Real cowboy.
If we actually, you legitimately think AOC showed some promise, which he really didn't.
You were hoping Aiden O'Connell turns into, if Aiden can legitimately turn into a top 25 quarterback next season, that's improvement. Significant improvement for him to be considered a top 25 quarterback. I mean, these guys have been relentless recently. Let's go to Real Cowboy. Debate settled. We have our backup of the future. Let's go find our starter. I mean, here we go. We're going to stir this one up again. If I'm the Raiders here, I don't know if you do have your backup of the future. And the reason why that I say that is, if you go bring in an OC like Kliff Kingsbury, or if you try to bring in a certain offensive coordinator that you need a mobile quarterback, you can't stick with them then.
What? People are like, he needs a different system. What system would Aiden O'Connell thrive in, though?
The Josh McDaniels system. The Josh McDaniels system is built for a quarterback like Aiden O'Connell.
Like,
it is.
If you're looking at any other system where you need to be able to
Move.
be mobile, get out of the pocket, Aiden showed you none of that. He literally had Khalil Mack get 7 sacks because he would drop back 3 steps and stand there for 6 seconds. Like, he's got no mobility whatsoever. I don't know what system you're thinking of.
Tell me what system Aiden O'Connell thrives in. Give me an option. Give me an option.
None.
There's the perfect offensive scheme for Aiden O'Connell is the Josh McDaniels offense. It's predicated on a quarterback like Tom Brady. It's built on a QB not having to move.
I'd rather have Daniel Jones.
Of course you would. Daniel Jones is light years better than Aiden O'Connell. Sean, without a top-tier quarterback, you don't have shit. Now's our chance to go get a QB of the future and FKC.
Can we get some FKCs in the comment section?
Can we freaking get some FKCs, man?
All right, that's all the Super Chats we have for right now.
Oh, man,
let's get into this next segment before me and Mitch.
I'm gonna freak out.
We're gonna throw everything around the studio.
This is an unbelievable conversation.
Studio A is gonna turn into a rage room.
Oh man, that is all sorts of funny. That is all sorts of funny. Oh man, yeah. I mean, I heard it too. I talked to multiple players. Players will say what they want when cameras are on them, but behind closed doors, I'm telling you right now, there's not a single Raiders player that would be confident about that team if they went ahead and had Aiden O'Connell as the starter. If you ended up drafting Jaden Daniels and then Aiden beats him out, well then guess what? Aiden just turned into a wholly different person, and you should investigate him for the Space Jam, whatever that is, stealing powers. Rock and Jock, we have to go all in for the number 1 pick minus trading Max. The top 3 quarterbacks in the draft are the best options. I agree with you. I have not been so confident on a group of quarterbacks in a very long time. And I'm a Drake May fan. I just don't think that that's the route that the Raiders would end up going with. So just keep that in mind. He made that wrong. Brutal.
Wait, I think he made it into a...
He did? All right, we'll see. Because that should be a player card.
Yeah.
Okay. Coming up here on the show, we are going to get into some players that I would be willing to trade if it meant for the Raiders to go up and get the number 1 overall pick, because I don't know if you've gathered anything from today's show. I don't feel confident rolling with Aiden O'Connell going in as the starting quarterback next season. Jay Super Chat says, I really don't understand how some of y'all fan base is really sold on AOC. Y'all sound delusional. We need to make a big swing at one of the top 3 quarterbacks, or we'll stay a mediocre team with AOC or a vet. Again, I think Jay here is hitting it right on the head, and I know that people get connected to players because, like, you watch that guy for a long time and you say, hey, well, maybe Aiden can turn into a good quarterback. Maybe Aiden can, guys. Like, maybe Aiden O'Connell can turn into a... If I told you Aiden O'Connell turns into a mediocre version of Derek Carr, would you take that? Because he's not going to turn into, name a top 10 quarterback. I'll tell you right now, he ain't turning into that. Like, you're hoping that he turns into an average Kirk Cousins, an average Derek Carr. Like, not the good Derek Carr, not the good Kirk Cousins. Like, you're hoping that he turns into that type of quarterback. And yes, you can stick with him. Like, I get it. You have that option. Or you roll the dice and you try to find a potential top 5 QB. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Rockwell, F. Chip Kelly, go get Kliff and give up 5 first-round picks to get Drake May. Let's get sounds great. Let's get aggressive and go all in. I mean, the Raiders don't have 5 firsts, so that's kind of that's the first problem there. The Raiders have, and this is the way the NFL draft works, you only have picks for the next 3 drafts, so they could give up 3 first-round picks, but you would still need to give up more to get the number 1 overall pick. Like, if you gave up 3 firsts, you'd probably also have to give up a second. 3 firsts and 2 seconds might be what it takes to get up there then. The thing is, teams value, okay? They value picks, like the picks. A second-round pick in this year's draft, based on the way teams value picks, is worth just as much as a first-round pick next year. And the reason is because you just never know what your job security is. So teams will take picks this year instead of just pushing it back because they don't know if they're even going to be around for that. All right, y'all, coming up here right now, it's a segment around trades. So anytime I do a trade video, I know some of y'all get fired up. So we'll see what ends up going down. So coming up, let's get a little bit wet and wild here on the Raiders Report. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, 5 players that the Las Vegas Raiders should consider trading if it helped them get the number 1 overall pick. For those of you that do not know, I put out on Twitter, at Mitchell Renz 365, and on Instagram, this trade idea that Bleacher Report threw out there around the Raiders, trading up to get the number 1 overall pick. And like I always do, I want to know what the nation has to say. If you did not see the trade, this was the deal. The Bears, they got pick 13 and 44. They got a first-round pick in 2025, a second-round pick in 2026. They also got Jakobi Meyers and Michael Mayer. I saw a lot of people were upset about this deal, so I figured on today's show, okay, I'm going to throw in a player that I believe if it was needed to be the cherry on top, guys that I'd be willing to move on from if it meant us getting a top quarterback in the 2024 NFL Draft. My question, though, is I got to know, would you make this trade if this meant that the Las Vegas Raiders got the number 1 overall pick and they could take any quarterback that they wanted? Would you do this? Yes or no? For me personally, I don't want to trade away Michael Mayer, but if the Chicago Bears said this is the only way that you're going to do it, then I'm going to do it. As long as I don't got to trade Max Crosby, I'm okay with the idea. And that's just the honest truth. Like, is Michael Mayer a difference maker? Yes, I've been on this show before, and I said he was a top 10 player in my draft last year. I've been on this show before, and I said he's going to be a top 3 tight end in the league. And you can see when he gets used, the dude is a difference maker. And the problem is, though, if you can find that next elite quarterback, that next Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, I don't care who it is, I will take that over Michael Mayer, Jakobi Meyers, any player that you're about to see every single day and twice again on Sunday. I don't want to trade away Michael Mayer. So let's look at some other players I'd be willing to deal. The reason why I'm showing you this trade right now as it stands is because this is a trade that was given to me from an NFL draft scout who's going to be at the Combine. He's at the Senior Bowl. Very, very well tied in. One of the smartest people that I know personally with the NFL draft. And he said this is what it would cost the Raiders from people that he's talked to get up to that number 1 overall pick to trade for Chicago. So what I figured I would do here is, since it just says starting player, I'm going to do the insert starting player here. Those are going to be the 5 names that you're going to see. If you're like, man, that's a lot. Well, guess what? The last time that a team traded all the way up to number 1 based off where the Raiders were at, so the Raiders right now are at 13. They're trying to get up to number 1. The only time that a team went more, or it's the highest that a team's ever gone up to number 1, was back in 2016 when the Rams traded up from 15 all the way up to 1. They selected Jared Goff, and this is what they gave up. A first-round pick, a second-round pick, a second-round pick, a third-round pick. Then in the following year, a first and a third. Remember, draft picks are more valuable in the year of the draft. The further and further the draft goes on, the least valuable the picks get. So just please keep that in mind. If you're looking for videos, okay, around the Raiders, whether it's draft content, free agency, trades like you're seeing now, we put out videos every single day here on this channel. We're not always going to agree. Now, if you're watching the show live, you already know. We're not always going to agree. But I think the best part about this show is you're not always going to agree with your friends. You're not always going to agree with your family. But at the end of the day, we can shake hands, we can share a beer, and we can root for the Raiders, because the only reason why I do this show is to be able to hang out with all of y'all and hope that what I say potentially happens, and then the Raiders ultimately can win a Super Bowl going forward. And the reason why I'm making this video is because I think if you get that number 1 overall pick, that puts you in Super Bowl contention. So what I ended up doing here is I reached out to a Bears source here, and I said, all right, man, give me the top 8 biggest needs here for the Chicago Bears. At number 1 is the quarterback. However, if you're trading up for the number 1 pick, quarterback really isn't a position, obviously, that Chicago is going to be looking for, because you're going to keep Justin Fields. So what I really tried to concentrate here on is, okay, can I give the Bears a receiver, a center, an edge, defensive tackle, safety, running back, or tight end? And I know there's going to be some people out there, well, Mitch, why are we trading up for number 1? Why can't we trade for 2 or 3? To me, if you're trying to trade up, the team that's the most likely to trade that pick, I don't see New England trading it, and I do not see the Washington Commanders trading it. Therefore, I believe the easiest spot to go up is number 1 to the Chicago Bears. So the first player coming up here on my Raiders trade candidates is Byron Young. But Mitch, you said starting caliber player. I hear you loud and clear. So the first 2 players that you're going to see are I'm going to lowball them a little bit. And sometimes, like, that's what you got to do in the NFL. Can I give them a lowball offer and then get into more of the serious contending players? Or if you're the Chicago Bears, who have already shown that, you know what, we didn't want Alex Leatherwood. Chicago ended up taking him. Sure, it was off waivers. But Byron Young was drafted in the 3rd round, number 74 overall out of the Alabama Crimson Tide, right? Like, it's a damn good school. He's still got 3 years left on his rookie deal. And maybe if you're the Chicago Bears, where defensive tackle is a little bit of a team need, you go, well, you know what? We actually had a high draft grade on Byron Young. I don't know what the draft grade is for Chicago on Young. Some people did have him as a round 2 type of player. I had him personally in late round 3, early round 4 is what we had him here at Chat Sports. And you're going to eat a little bit of money. It is what it is. He was drafted by the McDaniels and Ziegler regime, so could you potentially move on from him? Sure. He barely played this season. He was not really able to get on the field because he was unable to stay healthy. It was reported that he was looking okay in the offseason, and I don't know if it was just because he fell way behind other players, which other players did absolutely positively outplay him. John Jenkins, Adam Butler, Jerry Tillery, Bilal Nichols all outplayed him. And I get it. You're going to lose some talent here on the interior for the simple fact of Jenkins is a free agent, Butler's a free agent, Bilal Nichols is a free agent. And then you're left with a lot of undecided pieces. And, you know, Jerry Tillery is another name that I consider throwing in here because he doesn't have the greatest relationship with his former GM, Tom Telesco, now current GM. So Byron Young is a candidate here that I would absolutely throw into the trade. And some people might say it's not enough. If I got to trade 2 players like the Jacoby Myers, Michael Mayer thing, guess what? I will throw Byron Young into that mix, and if I need to, I'll throw in another guy because I want to get to number 1 that freaking bad. Before I show you the other 4 players that I am willing to say bon voyage to, I want to say hello to our sponsor here, Prize Picks, and if anybody wants to get started, hey, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and make sure that you use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks is really simple to play. I can make my picks and submit my entry in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types will make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. I think there's a lot of Raider fans out there that are torn. Do I root for the 49ers or do I root for the San Francisco or do I root for the Kansas City Chiefs? Or you can root for your picks, which I'm telling you right now, that's what I'm going to do. This right here, 20 to win $200. Patrick Mahomes, give me the more on that one. He just needs a 1 passing yard. Brock Purdy, more, 11.5 rushing yards. He had over 50 this past week. Pacheco, 7 straight games with a touchdown. I'll take the more on that. And the Kyle Juszczyk, got to catch 1 football. If all this hits 20 to win 200, bottom line is this. I'm going to be super occupied during the big game. And I think anybody that tries out Prize Picks, whether you want to do NBA, whether you want to do the NFL, any sport out there, you're going to have a lot of fun, even in games that you don't even really care about. Heck, I went to a Dallas Mavericks game on Monday night with my fiance, Alex, and I don't care about basketball. I'll tell you right now, I do not care about basketball. But guess what? I put down $10 on a few Mavs players. I didn't win. That's part of it. But the entire game, I'm sitting there cheering for rebounds. I'm sitting there cheering for assists. I'm sitting there cheering for 3 points scored on players that, I'll be honest, I don't even really know all that well. Why? Because I had a chance to win some money on Prize Picks, and you can too. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Let's go to the next player here, and at running back, it's Zamir White. Some of you are like, well, wait, why are we going to trade away Zamir White when we don't have Josh Jacobs? The only reason why I'm willing to trade away Zamir White, and the only reason why this idea is even being thrown out there, is because if Antonio Pierce is going to say that Josh Jacobs is the heart and soul of our team, well then, if you're going to keep Josh Jacobs, I think that you should move on from Zamir. I don't understand why you would keep 2 running backs that are kind of have a similar skill set. Like, to me, you either going to keep Zamir White and let Josh Jacobs go, or you decide early on that, yes, we are going to do everything in our power to bring back Jacobs, and then you trade away Zamir White. This is the ultimate, can I get somebody to sell high? Like, can I get somebody to buy high right now on Zamir White? Hell, I would trade Zamir White and Byron Young. Send them both to Chicago. I'm okay with it if it helps me get the #1 pick. He was selected in round 4, 122 overall. Again, Ziegler and Josh McDaniels guy. You save a little bit of money. I'm not worried about the money. But I'm pretty confident in this, and I might be wrong on this, and if he is the starting running back for the Raiders next season, I hope I am wrong on it. I don't know if you're ever going to see a better 4-game stretch by Zamir White for the rest of his career. I don't know if it's going to happen. Do you think that you could get potentially a 4th-round value, a 5th-round value for Zamir White right now? Again, a running back. Good college pedigree at Georgia. Solid stats here. I mean, Zamir was a hell of a running back the final 4 weeks of the season. I don't know if you're going to get that type of production again. So you say, okay, I'm going to keep Josh Jacobs. Amir Abdullah is a free agent. See you later, right? Zamir White, well, we just traded him away. Jacob Johnson, he's a free agent. No need to bring him back. Brandon Bolden, if they don't cut him, I might delete this YouTube channel. And then Sincere McCormick. He's going to be coming back as well. If you needed to say, well, who could be that potential running back to behind Jacobs in case Jacobs gets hurt? I mean, I know Graphic Raider would be as hard as can be if that ended up happening, but I have enough confidence in Sincere McCormick. Zamir, hell of a running back. Zeus did a hell of a job filling in. But if I can trade Zamir White and it helps me get a quarterback, I am going to do it. I will admit, though, the first two players, I don't really know if they're going to interest the Chicago Bears all that much. That is, can I get you to bite on a deal? But realistically, these next three players, I know for a fact Chicago would have some interest in. Let's go with the wide receiver position here, Jacoby Myers. Then, if you were to ask me, out of all these starting caliber players, which one do I think is the most likely to get traded this offseason? Jacoby Myers is the answer. And I think Jacoby did a hell of a job this past season. He was a really, really good receiver. He's one of the more underrated players in the league, especially at the receiver position. Good blocker. Guess what, though? Good blocker that kind of fits with what Chicago likes to do at the receiver position. And the Bears' biggest need that isn't quarterback is at the wide receiver spot. Raiders will be looking for more speed in the receiver room this offseason. Antonio Pierce said it as presser. If you are looking at some of the offensive coordinators that this team might bring in, then Jacoby could be out. Like, if Kliff Kingsbury is the OC, I'll say it right now, I believe Jacoby Myers gets traded if Kliff Kingsbury is your OC. If you end up keeping a guy like, if you keep Clint Kubiak or hire Clint Kubiak, or if you hire an Alex Van Pelt, then I actually think you keep Jacoby Myers. However, though, if you want to go with this more vertical attack, Jacoby's one of the slowest wide receivers in the NFL. He's a possession guy. He's not built on speed. Yeah, you're going to eat some money, but you're also going to save $6.8 million. You can go and invest on a faster dude. This also gives Trey Tucker another opportunity to get on the field here a little bit more. I will admit, you will have to address the need in free agency. You will have to address a need in the draft. But I'll be real with you. I think it happens anyway because the Raiders are going to be looking for another receiver because I hate to break it to you, Hunter Renfrow ain't going to be on this team next season. They're going to cut his ass. They're going to save $11.8 million post June 1st, and then they're going to be looking for another receiver. You're going to see Devontae Adams, Trey Tucker, Michael Mayer is going to get his on top of that. But for Jacoby Myers to be the wide receiver 2 in Chicago, I do believe that they would have ultimately some very much interest in that. I got two more players here coming up on the show, but hey, maybe you don't know already. Chugs and I are doing a big game watch party, and if anybody's like, I don't want to watch the Chiefs and 49ers alone, luckily, you can come hang out with Chugs and I. Where? It's going to be at the Ahern Luxury Boutique Hotel inside the Ahern Live Showroom. If you want to know what the address is, there's the address. Doors are going to be opening up at 2 p.m. Pacific time, and if anybody wants to reserve a spot, you can reserve your spot down below at that link right now, chatsports.com/biggame, BIGGAME. That link is going to be available to y'all down in the comments and down in the description of today's show. So from what I understand, this venue is actually going to be able to hold up to 200 people. I was originally told 85. It's going to be able to hold up to 200. And Chugs and I are going to be on the stage. There's going to be a full bar there, but you do have to pay money to reserve a seat. Let me make this very clear, though. It is 100% free to attend this event. I just can't guarantee you a spot if you do not pay. However, though, I feel like we have a really freaking awesome deal here. You can do the happy hour pass, which is unlimited craft and draft beers and unlimited happy hour bites. So it's a bunch of like tailgating food, and it's good tailgating food. You can do all that. In fact, if you want to see what the food is, it's listed down there on that link. That's $99. Or you can go the VIP pass, which is everything that the happy hour pass is, unlimited food, unlimited drinks, but you have the opportunity to check out both levels of our showroom. And this, if you want to actually join the Raiders Report, like chug a beer with Chugs and I, you want to, I don't know, take a shot with Chugs and I, hop on the live stream and scream Raiders, I recommend getting the VIP pass. In Las Vegas, during the big game, you will not find prices like this. I can guarantee it. So if you want to come party with Chugs and I for the big game, I don't want to be rooting for the Chiefs. I don't want to be rooting for the 49ers. So we might as well hang out. We might as well have a time together. Reserve your spots now because I just checked. They are already going very, very quickly. Or you can roll the dice, show up for free. You can still meet Chugs and I, but I can't guarantee that you're going to be able to get a seat. And I want you guys to at least be able to get a spot. All right, let's go to the next player here on the show. It's Dylan Parham, center, offensive guard. The reason why I listed him here as a center is because if you're trading Parham to the Chicago Bears, well, they want a center. Like, one of their biggest needs right now is center. And you're like, well, Mitch, he's a left guard. He's played left guard his first 2 years in the NFL. You're right. You are 100% right. He has played offensive guard his first 2 years in the NFL. But here's the thing. I believe the reason why the Raiders drafted him is because of his versatility, and Parham played center at the Senior Bowl. He's also played basically all over the offensive line from his time back at Memphis, and yet again, you're going to see a trend here. McDaniels and Ziegler guys, time and time again, when a new regime comes in, they move on from the old regime players. I mean, how many times have we seen it? It's going to happen again. This guy was selected in round 3, 90th overall. He's a good offensive lineman. Yeah, you save some money. You're going to eat some money. I'm not worried about the money. The only money that I'm going to worry about is the next player coming up here. But for Parham, it's hard to find a dude in his first 2 years that has had over 2,000 total snaps. His PFF grade last season, 60.4, a pass blocking grade, a run blocking grade, which aren't great considering the fact of what I was expecting out of Parham. But if you're the Chicago Bears and you could potentially find your starting center, you got to go for it. I will admit, though, if you're willing to trade away Dylan Parham, you are absolutely positively bringing back Andre James. Or you are absolutely positively bringing back Jermaine Illuminor, or you have to bring back one of those free agents. You cannot go into the offseason. You cannot go into the draft being minus your starting left guard, center, right guard, right tackle. Like, you better hope that Thayer Munford's ready to step up to the plate. You better hope that Jermaine Illuminor is willing to come back on a cheaper deal. But I do think if you trade away Dylan Parham, then you better figure out a way to bring back Andre James and put him at center. That's what I believe. And the last one is the one that I'm very curious to see where the nation goes. And the reason why he's listed up here is because I had a Bears source reach out to me and said, well, what about edge? And at first they go, Malcolm Koonce. And I said, to be honest with you, I think that the Raiders would be more likely to trade away Tyree Wilson than Malcolm Koonce. Maybe I'm wrong in saying that. Koonce did a lot of good things with Antonio Pierce and Patrick Graham. Tyree Wilson, though, his upside is it's insanely high. I'm being real with you. So here we go. Tyree Wilson. If I needed to trade away Tyree Wilson to get the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft, I'm doing it. And look at the money. The dead money. The Raiders are eating 11.4, and here's the thing. It don't save you anything in the cap. It even takes away money from your cap, $5.7 million. But the Bears need a defensive tackle and an edge rusher. So can I kill 2 birds here with 1 stone? And out of all the players that I just mentioned here, he's the guy that has by far the most value. I know he wasn't exactly what Raider fans were hoping for, but he was the number 7 overall pick in last year's draft. And if he can play DT, he can play edge. Like, there's some value in on all of that. And Wilson did get put into a bad situation because Chandler Jones went Chandler Jones on us. But you saw Tyree get better and better and better as the year went on. But my bottom line is this. If you told me between Malcolm Koonce and Tyree Wilson, which out of those players would I rather keep on the Raiders, I'm actually going to keep Malcolm Koonce. However, I want to know what you guys have to say about this one. And don't just pick Malcolm Koonce because that's what I said. Because realistically, it might be the unsexy, unpopular opinion. Because what do I always say? Go for the home run. Tyree Wilson, to me, can be a home run. I don't know if Malcolm Koonce can. He's going to be a great double. He's going to be a solid player for this team. But you better make sure that you figure out a way to extend him. Like, if I'm making this trade, I'm giving Malcolm Koonce a contract extension. Let's be real about this. But what would you do if you had to pick one to trade away? Chicago looks at you and goes, all right, 3 picks in 2024. It's 13, 44, 77, and 3 picks in next year's draft, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. But I want Malcolm Koonce. And you go, I'm not giving up Malcolm Koonce. And they go, well, it's either Tyree Wilson or Malcolm Koonce. What do you do? To me, I'm going to say goodbye to Tyree Wilson, and I'm going to keep Malcolm Koonce here on this team because I believe he's a better fit with Patrick Graham and Antonio Pierce. But I want to know what you guys have to say, who you trading away. So here we go one more time as our Raiders trade candidates that I would be willing to ship off if it meant me getting the number 1 pick. However, I did want to say that I do have a few honorable mentions, and the names that you're about to see are names that just don't have quite the value, I would say, that some of those other players did have based on some of the needs that Chicago has. Hunter Renfrow. Bottom line, Renfrow doesn't have a lot of value. I've been told by multiple sources in the NFL that you're looking at like a 7th round pick, right? Like, that's what Renfrow is with his contract. Jerry Tillery. I thought about Tillery. He does have 1 year left, And the reason why I think Tillery could be another name to keep in mind is, remember, Tillery was drafted by Telesco with the Chargers, and their relationship did not end great. I'm hoping that they can move past it, and he can still be a reliable player because we do need some depth there at DT. Divine Diablo at linebacker. Jacorian Bennett at corner. Again, not a lot of value. Part of that old regime. Chris Smith, same thing. Not a lot of value. Part of that old regime. Could a team like Chicago, who it seems like right now, if you're going to make a trade for that, you're really trying to stock up on young talent. Here's some young talent that maybe they would take a shot at. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video here on the channel. I like doing these type of shows to just give you an idea of players that I'd be willing to move on from, things that could potentially happen. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you got those notifications turned on, because anytime breaking news happens, we go live here on the Raiders Report. Oh, man, Steven Rockwell, what is up, my man? I got to change into one more jersey, and I'm going to go through some of these supers. Remember, $20 Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365 for a chance to win a little bit of money. The last time that I checked, we had, it was, let me see here, Tuna, you in. So as it stands right now, the people that are in this race, Justin Gilbert, Scott Eckert, Christian Gonzalez, Raider Sancho, the great Tuna. $20 Venmo to win, $50. F. Chip Kelly, go get Kliff and give up 5 first-round picks. I think we already read that one, but it's a lot, though.
All right. Next one up, Julio. Mitch, I don't think our GM will trade up for Daniels. Plus, name the last quarterback Heisman winner to win a Super Bowl. The last Heisman winner to win a Super Bowl at quarterback. Huh. That's good trivia. Last Heisman quarterback winner to win a Super Bowl. Off the top of my head, I feel like it has to be like 20 years ago. Yeah. Mitch, you can go ahead and tell him.
Based off of Google, Roger Staubach and Jim Plunkett. It's a long time ago. It's a very long. The only reason why, though, I do think that Jaden Daniels is the more likely pick, and I said it earlier today, and I think I surprised a few people here at Chat Sports, and I said, if you were to ask me right now, the Raiders trade up to number 1, what quarterback do they take? I think that Jaden Daniels is the higher. Like, if I'm betting on Daniels because, one, I'm going to get better odds, but also Jaden Daniels mentions Marvin Lewis, Antonio Pierce at his Heisman Trophy ceremony. Both of those guys are with the Raiders now. Like, the Raiders brought in Marvin Lewis. Week 18, after the Broncos game, Jaden Daniels is in the team's locker room. Multiple Raiders players, Devontae Adams, have talked highly about Jaden. The other day, Jack Jones said Jaden Daniels to the Raiders on Twitter, like literally said it. See, my nose is itching right now. There was another thing. Oh, Antonio Pierce follows Jaden Daniels on social media, does not follow Caleb Williams. And I want to say that, I don't know if it's the Raiders follow Jaden Daniels or somebody, I forget who it is, but somebody else important in that Raiders room follows Daniels. They don't follow Caleb. And, you know, if you're going to bet on a guy like Antonio Pierce, who has been able to show like good locker room camaraderie, and he's had success bringing in players that nobody else wanted, and then all of a sudden, like, I can make this work. Jack Jones, right? Like, Jack Jones worked out. I get it's quarterback, but I bet you Antonio Pierce would be willing to put his name on the line for Jaden Daniels more than Caleb Williams based off of their relationship.
Interesting.
I agree. Very.
John, Mitch, knowing that every free agent RB coming out knows that they can't get a top-tier contract, who do you want to match with Zeus? I think a cheap contract, a cheap deal, and I thought using him sparingly in almost a Amir Abdullah type role, like a scat back.
Yep.
If you could get him for cheap, Tony Pollard.
I don't think you're getting Pollard cheap, though.
I mean,
to me, I like the direction that you're going with. Like, to me, I'd rather give Tony Pollard more touches than Zamir White.
No, yeah, I mean, like, use him as like a 1-2.
See, if I'm going to go that route 1-2 based off of money, because I think Tony Pollard and Austin Eckler would require close to the same amount of money, I would rather roll with Austin Eckler, a guy that's worked with Telesco before. Like, he was undrafted, but Eckler, though I don't know if Eckler would want to.
I think Eckler would cost more than Tony Pollard, no?
The only reason why I say I don't know is because he didn't this past year, right? Like Pollard got franchise tagged. Eckler's up there a little bit older in age. To me, I'm not giving a running back a multiple-year deal, right? Like I'm talking about a 1-year deal, maybe a 2-year deal.
Are you
Eckler to me is the better running back.
What? What question? Heisman Trophy winner. Yeah, Mitch looked it up. Do you?
You guys can look it up.
I have been brainstorming. I cannot think of
it. It's a long time ago.
Not this century.
It's a long time ago.
Like 80s. 70s.
Not Elway.
I was thinking it was
What?
like some obscure backup. Like,
No.
Nope. They start.
Yes.
1.
Yep.
2.
Cullen just took your job.
That's it.
Cullen just took your job. Wow.
I'm going to say Raiders and Cowboys.
Cullen, you get 2 lunches tomorrow.
Somebody check Cullen's history. Actually, don't do that.
No, don't.
Don't do that. You don't want to check it. You don't want to know what's in there.
LA, Crash Dog, I'm up. What's up, fam? Late to the party as usual. What did I miss?
A lot of Aiden O'Connell talk. We also discussed a mock draft and
Mitch
some
almost
trade ideas.
Me and Mitch almost broke up over Bo Nix.
I'll tell you this. Bo Nix is not splitting us up. No way. Josh Melton.
We'll never let a guy come between us.
You're damn right. Do you think Daniels could do what Eli Manning did in the draft because he wants to be a Raider? I'm just going to say no.
He doesn't seem like that type of person.
I also think
you got to be a really shitty type of person to be like Eli Manning and
refuse to go to a team.
I think in today's day and age with social media, people wouldn't do it because it's a whole nother shitstorm today, right? Like, I don't think Eli Manning does that in today's day and age because I know it might not be that big of a deal, but in today's day and age, social media gets loud, and it can get very, very loud, and it's very distracting. And if I'm a quarterback that's getting drafted this high, I do not think that I don't know what you're doing over there. I don't think that that's a good way to start your career. I could be wrong, though. I'm hoping to run into Jaden during the Super Bowl week. I'm hoping to run into him. What on earth are you doing? What is that?
I'll tell you later.
All right, fair enough. Josh, though, I do think it's a good question. All right, I think that's all the Super Chats that we have right now. What I want to do is I want to get into the latest news and rumors here that have happened around the NFL, around the Raiders, and then after that, we're going to do a duck race, and then I'm going to get the F out of here.
So did John Elway win a Heisman?
I don't know, man. I literally just did a quick Google search. If I'm not live, I can look it up a little bit easier and do the research on it. However, though, what I looked up said Staubach and Plunkett. I do not know.
Rebel, is Marshall home? Yes. Or no, Marshall's here.
What's up, OG Bloodstain? He has, if we stay at 13, can we trade up in the first again? Yeah, you can. But again, if you're, that's on me. If you're going to trade up into the first again, that means you're trading up for a quarterback. And I've made it clear. I do not want Bo Nix. I do not want J.J. McCarthy. I really don't even want Michael Penix Jr.
I do not want green eggs and ham.
I can spin it to how I could be confident in certain scenarios. And, I know how I am. I don't ever want to go through something like I went through with Josh McDaniels where I knew it was never going to work. You always try to get excited because nobody likes to be a miserable human being. At least I don't think anybody does. I would try to spin it. But I would not like it. What up, Gunny? Statistics say 60% of top quarterbacks taken do not work out or last with the team that drafted them. Why would we lose players in draft capital for those odds? Well, what are the odds right now the Raiders are going to successfully pick somebody that's good at 13 in round 1?
Well, I also think every single year quarterbacks get taken in the top 10. So statistically, not every one of those hit. So
correct.
40% rate? I mean, how many quarterbacks outside of Purdy in the divisional round were not first-round picks. None. The only non-first-round pick quarterback in the divisional round was Brock Purdy. C.J. Stroud, first-round pick. Patrick Mahomes, first-round pick. Lamar Jackson, first-round pick.
I'll also say the reason why you do it, and his name is Patrick Mahomes. Scared money don't make money. If by this logic, why do you enter a duck race? I mean, you don't win every time, but when you do win, it works out. What people got to just stop thinking about is you can't look at the past, right? Because you're going up against arguably a quarterback that has the chance to be the greatest quarterback of all time in your division. Until you find somebody that can compete with that, it doesn't, you can't settle like maybe some other teams were able to settle a quarterback. That can't be an option.
Every time you drive your car, there's a chance that you can get in a car crash. Doesn't mean you walk everywhere.
The Raiders are in a completely different situation than a lot of other NFL teams out there because they don't have Patrick Mahomes in their division. If you're an NFC team, maybe you don't have to roll the dice as much. If you're in the AFC and you think about,
Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, C.J. Stroud.
I'm gonna go through every team. Bills, Josh Allen. Okay. Dolphins with Tua. You can say with Tua what you want, but Tua is still a good quarterback. The Jets are going to have Aaron Rodgers next year. The Patriots, let's say they have Drake May. Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. Raiders, I don't know. Broncos, that's a big-time question mark, but they're picking in front of the Raiders. You can't allow Denver to get a quarterback. Chargers, Justin Herbert. Ravens, Lamar Jackson. Browns, Deshaun Watson. Steelers, question mark. Bengals, Joe Burrow. Texans, C.J. Stroud. Jags, Trevor Lawrence. Colts, Anthony Richardson. Titans, Will Levis. And so you're telling me, for everybody that wants to keep Aiden O'Connell is the worst quarterback out of anyone that I just mentioned there. And it's not close, right? You got to find somebody that puts you in that category to legitimately compete. You got to find somebody that can put you in that category to legitimately compete. A lot of talent in the AFC. That's why you do it. Okay. I say we get into the latest news and rumors here.
I also say that.
On today's show. You ready? After this, y'all, we are going to get the F out of here. Again, appreciate each and every one of y'all for tuning in to today's show. Had a lot of fun. Had a lot of good conversations. I know Chugs and I at times might...
You can't kill multiple drafts to get a guy that maybe will be really good at the QB position.
Thing is, you can.
You can. The Kansas City Chiefs, if you asked the Kansas City Chiefs, would you give up all your picks in the next 10 years if that meant keeping Patrick Mahomes? They'd say yes. They would. If you said Kansas City, I'll give you 20 first-round picks. If the Raiders said to Kansas City, I will give you every single one of my picks for the next 10 years for Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs say no. They say no.
If I told you that you could get and not even proven guys, I'm telling you, if you could get your choice of Caleb Williams, Drake May, or Jaden Daniels, and all you had to give up was Tyree Wilson, Alex Leatherwood, Josh Jacobs,
Jonathan Abram, Cleveland Ferrell, Damon Arnett,
and Henry Ruggs. Yes.
In a heartbeat.
Yes.
Here, every single pick in the draft is a risk. Every single pick in the draft is a risk.
Silk said Caleb or Daniels, Chugs. I'm a home run hitter, so I'm going Caleb Williams because I think he has the highest upside. And with the right system, you can have a guy that can compete each and every year with Patrick Mahomes. That's just me.
I think some people saying Joe Milton. I mean, Joe Milton's a quarterback you can get in the 5th or 6th round, but I don't think Milton's ever going to be a good quarterback in the NFL. He's a good athlete. I would say Joe Milton is, I'm not even going to say the Dollar General version of Anthony Richardson. He is a random street.
He got beat out by the guy who J.J. McCarthy beat out.
Yeah,
at Michigan.
Joe Milton is not good. He's a good athlete. To me, if I'm Joe Milton, the career trajectory path that I try to take, which I'm going to make myself laugh because for so long on the show, everybody was always like, can you do a Taysom Hill role? If I'm Joe Milton, I try to fit into a Taysom Hill role.
Joe Milton lost out to Cade McNamara, who lost out to J.J. McCarthy?
Joe Milton would start. He's a starting quarterback from Vishal. I'm sorry, you are very. I'm just going to say I disagree with that.
We have a Tennessee alum in the office, and I don't think that he would agree with you, even though that he loves some Tennessee Volunteers. I really don't think that he would say that Joe Milton is a starting quarterback in the NFL right now.
Joshy B, according to Hondo, he said there's some teams that don't even have Williams as a first-round grade. There might not be. I don't agree with that. I don't think there's a single team out there.
I would love to see that team and say, all right, you have a chance to draft Caleb Williams, yes or no. I feel like that's just them trying to throw stuff at the wall to be like, oh, maybe they don't pick Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I'm going to call B. I think Hondo's a good dude, but if he did say that, again, I don't watch Hondo's stuff. If he did say that, though, I don't think that's
Silk,
true.
No, Cam Ward is not coming out. He's going to be playing at the U this year.
Yep. He's a interesting prospect, man. I'm excited to see what that kid turns into. He's a hell of a player.
John Rodriguez, Mitch, we can't get either JD or at number 1 or get Fields. Raiders hit a home run. Or if we can get Daniels or Fields.
I mean, again, I will take Drake May over Justin Fields. I will take Jaden Daniels over Justin Fields. I will take Caleb Williams over Justin Fields. I would say Fields, like I always give this home run analogy. I don't think Fields is a home run. To me, he's a double that's in the gap that has a chance to turn into a triple. And if you put a really good team around him, he might be able to steal home. Fields has got upside. You can't deny Fields' upside. It is 100% there. He's just a very raw quarterback still.
Super raw.
Super raw.
Super rare.
Super raw. WWE type of raw.
Super rare.
All right, y'all. Coming up here on the show, we're going to get into the latest Raiders rumors, some NFL news. There was a show that I did yesterday about some secret OC candidates. Somebody else just put out who they potentially think it could be. I'm going to throw out a few more names in there, and then a lot of things happened today in the NFL, so we'll also talk about that. You ready? Folks, give me a thumbs up. Coming up here on the show, let's get into some news and rumors. Raider Nation, it's Mitchell Renz here from the Raiders Report, and coming up on the show, we're going to look at the latest Raiders rumors, some NFL news that happened today because a lot of OC news happened in the NFL. Also, if you haven't been paying attention to this show and some other rumors that have been circulating around the silver and black, Hondo Carpenter threw out an idea that there is a secret OC candidate that the Raiders could potentially bring in. I did a video on it yesterday, but now there's been some new stuff that has surfaced. So if you don't know exactly what I'm talking about, it's from this right here. Hondo, there are still a lot of names out there, I was told, that was one name that nobody has. I don't have them. I don't know who it is that could possibly get an interview. That was rather large, big-name coach. A former head coach. The person said, I'm not going to tell you who it is, so I can truthfully tell you I have no idea who it is, but I was told it was a very well-known former coach. So yesterday, here on the show, and if you want to subscribe, this is just one of the reasons why you do. We put out more content than anybody else out there. I put out who I believe this secret OC candidate could potentially be. If you want to go check out the video, please do. I throw out 5 names that are in that. However, I go home. I start speculating a little bit more. You start trying to follow a few tea leaves. Had a few people call me and said, hey, man, it could also be this option here. So what you're going to see on this show are more names of who it could potentially be. But the biggest reason why I am making this show is because I saw Graphic Raider go live today, and I go, oh, my God, what is this thing about Chip Kelly? And then I see the report from Mike Florio stating that multiple NFL teams are apparently interested in Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly would be this big-name coach. Would he not be? I'm not saying that this is the guy that it is. It's just a rumor that is going on out there, and maybe this is the person that Hondo is referring to. If you don't know who Chip Kelly is, head coach of the UCLA Bruins, and anytime Florio throws stuff out there, it's going to get traction, so I feel like it's my job here as a host to be able to talk and communicate whether or not I think it's true or not. He was the head coach for the Oregon Ducks, the Philadelphia Eagles, UCLA, and you got to be able to give Chip some credit because his offense really gave people some big-time fits. On top of that, I know Telesco falls in love with certain schools, and I know he's a big Notre Dame fan, and I know that there's already been reports about him falling in love with Bo Nix, Oregon, Chip Kelly. He's obviously has his Oregon ties on top of that. Highly regarded offensive-minded dude. To me, Chip in an offensive coordinator role would be very fun to watch. Though, would he end up taking the Raiders' job? And there's definitely some speculation there. However, though, I do want to be able to add 3 more names, or at least 2 more names that are legit. One name that I'm just going to squash right away. Let's go to the next name that I think it might possibly be. David Shaw, former head coach of the Stanford Cardinals. And the reason why I'm throwing out Shaw's name here is because according to Vincent Bonsignore, probably about a month and a half ago, he said that the Raiders were interested in Shaw as a potential head coaching candidate. And I mean, I never really believed it. I know that Shaw has interviewed before for the Raiders in a lot of their head coaching gigs, and he fits this bill as well, former coach. And one of the things that, I didn't really think about in the OC candidate video was, well, it didn't necessarily say head coach. It just said head coach. So the fact that he hasn't been an NFL head coach, but he was a Stanford head coach from 2011 to 2022. Also on top of that, worked with the Raiders from 1998 as a quarterbacks coach to 2001. So plenty of ties there with Mark Davis. And I know Mark loves guys that previously were a part of his dad's regime, if you will. So here's a fun question. We always ask, who do you want? Well, guess what? This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, and it's one person that you would hate to be the Raiders OC next year. You're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break. I want you to scroll on down and give me your answer on who would be the one person that if the Raiders hire him, you would hate it to be the OC. Coming up is actually going to be one of my answers. Not both the people, but there would be one person I would definitely be a little bit more upset about. But what we're going to talk about here is another potential secret candidate. And the guy that I'm going to talk about next, legitimately, I'm kind of mad at myself for not putting him in my video yesterday because from what I understand, there is some validity to some of the rumors out there that I've heard around him. I will tell you who it is in just a second. It's definitely not Josh McDaniels. That's probably the answer a lot of y'all are going to put here for the OC. I'm looking at the live show. Everyone's putting OC. That's freaking hilarious. It's not Josh McDaniels. Don't worry. But I do got to show some love to today's sponsor, Prize Picks, and I think this is something that all of y'all are going to like. At least I know Paige Davis would. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and make sure that you use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Whether it's for the big game, 49ers, Chiefs, whether it's for a random NBA game. I mean, shit. My fiance Alex and I, we went to a Dallas Mavericks game yesterday, in a game where it's Mavericks against the Orlando Magic. I'm going to be real with you. I don't care about either of those teams, but I had so much fun. Man, I put down $10. I had a chance to win 50, and I'm rooting for rebounds. I'm rooting for assists. I'm rooting for points in a game that I do not really care about. That's what Prize Picks can do, and that's why I absolutely love it. It's the reason why it's the #1 daily fantasy sports app out there, and anybody can get started by going down to the links that are in the comments and the description. If you're like, Mitch, what are you going with for the big game? Right here. This is what I'm going with. Patrick Mahomes, more than half a passing yard. I need Juszczyk to catch one football. Pacheco needs to score. He scored a touchdown in 7 straight games, so he better find the end zone again. Brock Purdy, 11.5 rushing yards. Give me the more on all of it. 20 to win $200. In a game that I don't want the Niners to win, and a game that I don't want the Chiefs to win, especially the Chiefs, at least I have a chance to make some money, and I'm going to have some fun watching the game no matter what. So if you're sitting at home right now going, Mitch, I'm not watching the big game. I'm not watching it. I hate the Niners. I hate the Chiefs. Do you hate making money? Do you hate having a little bit of fun in your life? I don't think that anybody hates having a little bit of fun. So promise me that you guys, if you're that fan, try this out. Because I guarantee you're going to be able to watch the game and then actually enjoy what you're watching. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS to get started. All right, coming up here are some other potential secret candidates. And this next name out there is one that I'm telling you, from what I'm understanding here, is one to take with a little bit more validity. And I gotta give Chugs his flowers on this one. He jokingly said it, and then somebody texted me yesterday, what's today? Tuesday? Yeah, Monday, and said, what about this name? And it's Jason Garrett, former head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And I don't know if I should clap. I don't know what the hell I should do seeing this. I'll be real with you. I would not want Jason Garrett to be the OC. But remember, in the original thing that Hondo said, previous NFL head coaching experience, which he has. Then on top of that, okay, not only was he the Giants head coach from 2011 to 2019, he was also the Giants OC, Cowboys head coach, Giants OC from 2020 to 2021. The reason why that's important, don't get me wrong, the Giants offense these 2 years, I believe, were like 30th in the NFL and 31st. Absolute garbage. But Patrick Graham, was the defensive coordinator with Jason Garrett with their time for New York. The other thing that I was told was the Raiders have had to do a lot of bullshit with past Patriot regimes. If you remember, the head coach of the Giants in those 2 years was Ben McAdoo, who came from the Belichick tree, who came from the Josh McDaniels tree. So if the Raiders want to blame it on the Patriot tree again and just give Jason Garrett another opportunity, I could see that being a reason. But all I'm saying is, I'm not saying that this is the guy, but this should be somebody that I do think fans should at least keep an eye on because he's got ties, previous player, which is something that the Raiders have cared about, and he's got that relationship with Patrick Graham already. Just something to throw out there and keep in mind. Here's one person who I can guarantee you it isn't. It's not Jon Gruden. Let's say it again. It's not Jon Gruden. There is a 0% chance that Gruden will ever come back to the Las Vegas Raiders. He left / was fired back in 2021 for the emails. I mean, let's just be real here. But also, I think this is one of the best things that happened to the Raiders in a sense because I was not a big believer in Gruden either. He ran an old-school vanilla offense that was predicated back in the early 2000s and had no innovation whatsoever. He was also historically probably one of the worst talent evaluators that we have ever seen in the draft and in free agency. Shit, even in trades. I mean, Jon Gruden and Mike Mayock were worse than Josh McDaniels and worse than Mike Mayock together. Like, I think Gruden was a better coach than McDaniels, but Mayock and Gruden combined, I think, were actually worse than Ziegler and McDaniels. I had a lot more confidence in Ziegler. Bottom line is this. He's not coming back. He's not the secret OC candidate. Anybody that wants him to come back here to the Raiders, I question your level-headed thinking. You probably also want Aiden O'Connell to be the Raiders starting quarterback next season. Coming up, let's get into the latest Raiders and some NFL coaching news that I do think that you should see because, unfortunately, there is an NFL team right now that is trying to steal away one of the Raiders' coaches, which I get it, and it's just part of the game sometimes. It happens from time to time. If anything, we should look at it as a little bit of a kick in the butt of say, hey, we need to promote this guy because to me, the Raiders need to promote assistant offensive line coach Cameron Clemens because right now, according to Ian Rappaport, he was requested to interview for a Panthers offensive line job, a young, impressive candidate who should get more interest. The reason why he is not allowed to get blocked is because he's an assistant offensive line coach applying for an O-line coach. Also, on top of that, if you remember, the Raiders, they lost Carmen Bracillo already. And you all know how much I like Carmen Bracillo. He's now with the New York Giants. So if the Raiders are smart, maybe they can quickly promote Cameron Clemens. That way we don't lose both of our offensive line coaches. More news here around the NFL, and Tom Pelissero, Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson informed the Seahawks and the Commanders that he's staying in Detroit. This one was a big one. This was a big-time surprise, and the reason why I'm a little bit nervous about this report is because I was so confident that Ben Johnson, I think a lot of people were confident that he was going to get the Commanders job, and then Dan Quinn, he was going to end up taking the Seattle Seahawks job. Well, what I'm worried about is what if Quinn takes Seattle's job, and what if Washington doesn't necessarily go with a Mike Vrabel? Maybe they go with a Bobby Slovic. I just don't want to lose Patrick Graham. I don't think that they're going to hire another defensive-minded guy, but that idea does scare me a little bit. And until the Commanders hire a head coach and until Seattle hires a head coach, there's always going to be that little part of me that's nervous of losing Patrick Graham, though I don't think that they are. What's also interesting was Johnson was not the head coaching lock that people thought. If you remember about a month ago, Josina Anderson threw out a price that apparently he's looking for like $15 million per year. People from Ben Johnson's camp are like, oh, that's not true. Well, it was confirmed today that Ben Johnson was asking for way too much money. Coming up here, some notes from the Senior Bowl. So today was the very first day at the Senior Bowl, and I'm really just going to talk about one player that I heard that showed out today, and then the two quarterbacks. So we'll talk about Michael Penix Jr., we'll talk about Bo Nix, and we'll talk about somebody that was at the Senior Bowl that I think is a pretty good sign for the Silver and Black. If anybody wants to watch the big game with Jeremy Chuggs and I in person, we're going to be in Vegas at the Ahern Hotel. Here's the address. It's going to start at 2 p.m. Pacific time. It is free to enter. It will be first come, first serve, unless you reserve your spot, which you can reserve it right now. The link is going to be down there in the comments. It's also going to be down in the description of today's show. Go to chatsports.com/biggame. I'm going to say it again. Chatsports.com/biggame, BIGGAME. This is how you can reserve your spot. So we're going to be able to fit up tons and tons of Raider fans in this thing. And if you do want to reserve your spot, it does cost money. However, I think it's a hell of a deal if you ask me. Like, you can get a happy hour pass for $99, and it's going to be all you can eat, all you can drink. Or if you do want to actually, like, pop up on the show, chug a beer, yell Raiders with Jeremy and I, there are going to be opportunities for that. I would recommend getting the VIP pass, which is $149, which still free food, free drinks. There's going to be a lot more giveaway chances as well, more opportunities for people that get the VIP pass, but it is free to attend. I just can't guarantee you a spot. Like, if 600 people come, that's not a bad problem to have. It's just then it will be first come, first serve. If you're like, Mitch, I'm not going to take the chance. I know how the nation gets, especially when they watch the show. Reserve it, because for 4 hours worth of eating and drinking, all you can for $99 or $150 in Vegas during the big game, that's a steal. Some places, I've already looked, Jeremy just said it, some places it costs $100 just to go in, right? $200 just to go in. Like, no food, no drink. This, you're getting all you can eat, all you can drink. $99 or $149. It's a great deal, and it is kid-friendly. I want to throw that out there. So one more time, chatsports.com/biggame. Reserve your spot right now because they are going to go rather quickly. William Plain says, that is a freaking deal, y'all. It is a freaking deal, y'all. So from what I understand, the MVP from today at the Senior Bowl was Quinion Mitchell, which breaks my heart a little bit, cornerback from Toledo. Not because I knew he wasn't going to be good. I did a mock draft probably, my first one of the offseason where I had Mitchell fall into the Raiders in round 3. It's not going to happen. In fact, I think he ends up going in round 1. I mean, his draft stock continues to go higher and higher and higher and higher. He's starting to turn into one of my guys. And who was the cornerback that Seattle drafted that was the freak athlete? Tariq Woolen. Tariq Woolen I had in a third-round mock, and I said, this guy's he's a different athlete, and maybe not a lot of people know about him because he's from UTSA. Here's not the same type of player, but a player that not a lot of people maybe know about, and he's going to end up going in round 1. Quinion Mitchell is one hell of a player with an even better last name. One person that I got some notes on today, because we do have a source that's at the Senior Bowl that's here at Chat Sports. I was told that Bo Nix looked average today, and maybe he looked average because he wasn't the best quarterback there. I was told that Michael Penix Jr. was much better than Bo Nix today at the Senior Bowl. Again, it's a practice. They're running with different receivers that maybe they're not used to. But from what I understood today, Penix was throwing the football all over the field, all different levels of the field, and looked significantly better than Bo Nix. You can take that with what you want. I have Penix Jr. as my 4th-ranked quarterback in this year's draft. I have Bo Nix ranked as my 5th quarterback in this year's draft. But what I did want to throw in here, I wrote it down in my notes section, and I do not want to forget it. Also, the Raiders, they did not send Antonio Pierce. He wasn't there today. Tom Telesco also was not there today. But here's what's good. Juwan Daniels was there, and assistant GM Champ Kelly. To me, the fact that Champ Kelly is at the Senior Bowl, I think is just about everything that you need to be able to confirm that he's going to be coming back here with the Las Vegas Raiders. Appreciate all of y'all for tuning in to this show. If you haven't already, subscribe. If you haven't already, give me a follow on IG and Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365, and go reserve your spot right now. Because I want to party. I want to get a little bit wild during the big game for Chugs and I. And if you love what we do for watch parties, you're going to love what we do in person. And I would love to be able to do watch parties for Raiders games next season in Las Vegas. And I'm being real with y'all. If this goes well, we have an opportunity to do it. So I'm asking you from the bottom of my heart, show up for me, show up for Chugs. But I would also like the opportunity to be able to meet more of you guys in person. So please, show up. Chatsports.com/biggame. Oh, man. Would you want Jason Garrett to be the OC? Yes or no? It's a no from me, dog. It's a no from me, dog. I would be devastated if this was the case. It's a no from me, dog. Vincenzo Peoples going to go with no. Sienna, no. Miguel, no. F no from Tadashi. I think we got a lot of no's flowing in here. What's up, Drive-In? Mount Raidermore in the building. All right, y'all, here's what's going to happen. Jeremy's actually going to go run real quick. He's got to go help out somebody else in another studio. And then when he gets back, we're going to do the duck race. James Guevara, you are in, my good sir. And not only once, but you're going to be in twice. So as it stands right now, $20 Venmo to win $70. So if you want a chance to win a little bit of money, at Mitchell Renz 365, when Jeremy gets back, we're going to do a duck race here. Somebody's going to go home with some money. Out of everybody that's watching, has anybody tried to reserve their spot already for the big game for our watch party? If you have, type me down below. I'm just curious if anybody else has done it. Has anybody already reserved their spot? You're going to also have an opportunity, if you haven't already, met my dad. My dad's going to be out there. It's going to be a good time. You're going to be able to watch, hopefully, a Rebel and Marshall boot race. We only need, if my math is correctly, again, we started a fund to get Marshall out to the big game. We're about 10 more $50 super chats away, which we will get to at some point. We've also been absolutely killing it. Lil JT says, me. Anthony Green, I sent mine, Mitch. I think you're talking about for the duck race here, Anthony. Anthony, if you're talking about the Venmo, I do not have yours. At Mitchell Renz 365. I do not have it. I see Eric says, me. Love to see it. My dad, no. Well, you're going to have to get on that there, Rich. Mitch, who you got for the Super Bowl? I'm rooting for the Niners. And it's not an easy one. Oh, Chugs is going to be happy. Slovic staying with the Commanders. Sperry. Slovic staying with the Texans. Slovic staying with the Texans. I don't know. You were saying Slovic. Bobby Slovic has agreed to a new deal in Houston within the past few days, one that includes a significant raise. Slovic impressed multiple NFL clubs through the interview process, but he's sticking in Houston and will be a hot name in 2025. It's Slovic. You sure? You're sure? Is it not Slovic? Slovic. I thought it was Slovic. I thought he was German. Is what it is, but he's staying. So let's do this duck race, and then I'll let you get out of here. Sound good? We also got a few people already that said that they have said yes to our event, so that's pretty dope. All right, let me see here real quick. I'm going to get all the names in. Again, final call here for our duck race. It is right here. Justin Gilbert, Scott Eckert, Christian Gonzalez, Raider Sancho, Tuna, James Guevara, and James Guevara are the people that are in this race. Good luck to all of y'all out there. Yeah, I'm rooting for the Niners, guys. I don't love the situation. I do not want Kansas City to win. It's a lose-lose, but I'm going to be rooting for the San Francisco 49ers during the big game. Yep, I sent them to TV. And then Anthony Green just sent me, I want to say, Anthony, I did not get anything, dude. What's today's date? The 30th? Yeah, Anthony, I don't got anything from you, man. Timothy Acker in. I think there's something wrong with my Venmo, to be honest with you. Hang on, guys. I've had a few people just send me something. Okay. I've had a few people send me something. I just refreshed my phone. Anthony, you are in. See, I got your message. I think I just had to refresh it. Anthony Green, you in. That's on me. And then I see Luis Rodriguez, you in. And then Amy in. So that's what? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So my phone was kind of acting weird there. So let me go through this again. Timothy Acker, Luis Rodriguez, Anthony Green, James Guevara. You have 2. Brandon Jasper, Raider Sancho, Christian Gonzalez, Scott Eckert, and then Justin Gilbert. Those are all the names that I have in for our duck race. Okay. We got 11 names, so that means winner gets $110. $110 coming up here on the show after this. Unfortunately, y'all, I got to get the heck out of here. I'm on dog duty today, and I got to get home a little bit earlier. So, cheers to the nation. Starting at 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Winner gets $110. Good luck to everybody out there. I want to say right now, Anthony Green in the panda costume. Anthony Green in the panda costume. Maybe it's Amy there in the lead. Watch out for Tuna in the top left. James Guevara. He's got 2 ducks in this race. Justin Gilbert rocking the Chugs helmet. And you got down there Chris Gonzalez, but right now it's Amy with the lead. Starting to fall back here a little bit. Anthony Green. He's got the different costume. Anthony's in a good spot, though. I've watched these races before. I think Timothy Acker's in a good spot. And I think Justin Gilbert and then, honestly, Luis Rodriguez are all in very good spots. Oh, man, Anthony Green might have a little bit of a burst here. James Guevara with the lead. Winner gets $110. This is usually when it gets interesting. Luis Rodriguez starting to creep up. Luis Rodriguez down here starting to creep up. Winner gets $110. Is it going to be Luis? Is it going to be Tuna? It's Luis Rodriguez. Winner. So Luis went like 38 straight races without getting a dub. I think it was like 38 straight races without getting a dub. Won $80 yesterday, or 2 days ago on Sunday. Luis, congrats, my man. Got to play to win. Quack a quack. Luis, can you please confirm down below that you just received $110? Congrats to Luis. James, I know. James, I think you got a flat tire. All right, y'all, I'm heading out of here. Appreciate each and every one of y'all for always tuning in. Gilbert just said, for Chuck. Shout out to Chuck for Barkley. Big game watch party. Again, if you want to reserve your spot, chatsports.com/big game. If you want to reserve a spot, the way to do it is going down to that link below. It is free to attend, which it's kind of like show up at your own risk. From what I understand, though, you should still be able to get in. It's just I can't guarantee you a seat. You might have to stand. If that's not a problem for you, then, hey, I know this. A few years ago, I absolutely would have showed up, been okay with standing. If, though, you want to get all-you-can-eat food and all-you-can-drink, you can get it for $99 or the VIP pass, which I'm just going to be real with you. It's the one I would recommend. You're going to have a lot more flexibility to do a lot more things on our show. And you're going to have all you can eat and all you can drink, $149. On top of this, though, I'll tell you this, we're going to be giving you guys some drinks on top of it, so there's going to be a lot of stuff flowing. I want to have a good time. I want to absolutely crush it. Enjoy the rest of your day. The next time you're going to see Jeremy Chugs and I live here on the show is going to be on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern.